Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com. Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official race.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to coverage of this, the third round of the Gathering of Tweakers series here on RaceSpotTV. Will Vincent, along with Johnny Simon and Rachel Whiteford, got plenty of action here for you today as drivers working themselves on the pace lap behind the iRacing.com first safety car. In just 1 moment's time, it's going to head itself down towards pit road to get this race underway. 3 hours worth of racing at historic Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. That pace car now just making that journey down on towards pit road. Out front there you can see Patrick Peachler for the Pure Racing Team car about to get this race underway. The drivers working themselves now down towards turn number 1. La Source, they'll work themselves through that one. We are underway here at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. All those drivers heading themselves down through La Source for the first time. There you can all see them as they work themselves out of that corner down towards the Air Rouge Radio Complex for the first time. And it's Peachler out front, Brookner in P2. A little bit of side-by-side racing down the pack as we go on board for the first time with Ben Kuipers in the Mad Cape Racing Team number 74 car as he works himself now down towards Lecoum for the first time. You've also got just up the field there, a little bit too wide racing as well. Drivers all trying to get themselves up, working through the field on this first lap. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, live timing and scoring is available throughout the course of this race. Head over to livetiming.nickthiessen.nl. But out front, Peachler with the early advantage. Brookner currently running in the second position, right along board with him. And Johnny looks as though that most of this field, in fact all of this field, is through your first couple of corners without real incident.
Yep, lovely start to the race, and already we have a car slowing down. We're near around the Mad Cape car. I'm not sure who that is. They made a small bit of a mistake, it seems, there around the no-name corner, but relatively good start for an endurance event. Everybody knows there's 3 hours left to go, and there's plenty of time to make your way through the field here.
Yeah, so then you can see riding along board Roberto Carca in the number 15 car. He was a driver who was very slow here at the start on this race. He's fallen down a couple of positions already, but out front, Peachler's got himself about a 0.5 of a second advantage over Brookner right now. Christopher Lucas running himself in the third position. Now we can have a look at him for the first time in the Hellenic Racing Team car, working himself now out of Stavolo down toward the bus stop chicane for the first time. And Rachel, in a 3-hour endurance race, it's all about getting yourself into a rhythm. Of course, this is the longest race, longest racetrack that these drivers will go to all season long. It's all about making sure you get through these first couple laps without incident. It's a good thing that these top 3 drivers have themselves a big breakaway.
Yes, it is, and good evening, Will. Good evening, everyone. Spa is one of those historic tracks. It's an endurance in itself. Definitely the longest track these guys will visit on their schedule. And you're right, the first few laps are all about setting that rhythm, finding your groove, getting yourself somewhere you can run comfortably, as this is not about going tooth and nail every corner. You want to find a gap, you want to sit in it, you want to ride, you want to make those moves in the last half hour. These guys so far with a very entirely clean first lap, looks like they're going to be able to manage that. Do you want to point out though, Velomax and Apex Racing Group 32, both DNS in the race today, and Restart Racing Blue, that number 11 car will, had a pit lane start, so they're in dead last.
Yeah, and also Berka Karaka, you can see him on pit road now in that Team Turkey car. So there was something that went on for that number 10, is he's having to make a very early pit stop, and that is not what you want at the start of one of these races at all, Johnny.
No, certainly not. And as well as, I was just checking out the onboard feed, which is pretty nice as well. If you want to check that out on the YouTube channel while watching, it's obviously right in front of you. But now at the front, though, the top three is actually a real close battle already in the early stages. Maybe these drivers want to show a bit of aggression in the early stages. We don't know, but certainly a nice start from the three in front. I think the top two is at JPS and Hellenic. Pure Racing and JPS are quite close to each other through Pool 1.
Yeah, riding on board then with your overall race leader, that is Patrick Peachless, who works himself back down into the Thong chicane, one of the more difficult corners on this racetrack. There you can see him in that PRT racing car. Gap between himself and Zembukno, well, that is just 0.4 of a second right now as we go back along board then with Bruckner as he's closing gap that down to about 0.4 second. Behind him, there is still some very close battles going on. This mid-pack, you've got drivers actually separated by about, well, get this, about 0.2 of a second at one point. Alan Neves, there you can see him with Timo Vorhorst right behind him as these drivers work themselves back down towards the Blanchimont corner once again. In fact, Neves putting a lot of pressure on Vorhorst. Through Blanchimont they come. This is a battle for P9, P10 on the racetrack, riding out on board now with Timo Vorhorst as he comes down into the bus stop chicane, looking down to the inside. Very late move if he manages to make it stick. Not quite close enough there, but they will stay side by side through the corner, back along board there with Timo Vorhorst, not able to complete the pass there, Rachel.
No, he's not, and that's allowed the likes of the Mad Cape Racing number 74, driven by Ben Siepers, and Sim Racing for Holland with Rudy DeWitt to close it behind them. And now we have a 5-car train, including that STF Racing number 24 car, Anders Estefania. Those guys are all closed up. That fighting has really bunched those guys together pretty early, pretty close together. This could be an exciting little pack, Will. Yeah,
I know Panakeet battling with German Fandador, and then, Randy Chenworth side by side through Red Ridge, riding on Chenworth. Gonna loop that car into pit road, into the wall. That is the last thing you want to ever have going side by side in the spirit of the VLM car. We've also got David Serrano just having himself an incident there. We'll try and figure out what happened to both of these drivers. We're going to ride along board then. First, with this driver, with David Serrano working himself up the hill. You can see the smoke there from Randy Chenworth. Another car just coming right across him. That was a number 42 machine. 3-car incident there. All really started off, though, by Randy Chenworth running himself side by side through one of the most difficult corners in all of racing. And now we have a look. Chenworth up the hill. You can see he's on the outside, making contact with the Apex Racing car, slamming hard into the wall. Well, that is, Randy Chenworth's day likely done, but also not a chain reaction because of that one, Rachel. Always scary at the start of these races.
Incredibly scary, Will, and I don't think his day is quite as done as we think. That was a pretty mild side-on slap for that Ford GT3 car, so he could well have just about escaped with that one. Obviously some bodywork damage and rear wing damage. We've seen cars running here with far worse. It could be in their best interest to stay out and see what they can get at any of the pit stops, but no, very early to be fighting that closely with people, and perhaps something that will make him a little bit more reluctant next time.
Yeah, there you can see then Chenworth down in the 26th position now in the spirit of Le Mans car. So they are going. Be interesting to see whether or not he comes onto pit road this time by. So we'll keep an eye out on him because he might have some repairs that we can't see to the suspension. Does look as though he's been able to maintain some pace at least for the time being in that number 72 car. But as he works himself down into the bus stop chicane, we'll check out, see whether he makes that journey on towards pit road. If he does, he'll go straight on right about now. He turns it back left. That means he will stay on the racetrack one more time. Out front, whilst all of that was going on, Patrick Pichler is now leading this race, and he's got Zen Buchner in the second position. Still about 6 tenths of a second separating these drivers. Of course, Pichler has led every single lap of this race so far, but Buchner is keeping him honest. Third place just falling off a little bit right now, Johnny, in this battle for the overall race lead.
Yeah, I was just about to say that her third place is falling back quite a bit, but Bruckner in second's able to keep with him, and that's happened for the first couple of laps already throughout the race. And lots of aggression already we saw with Chenworth there side by side at a Rouge. But at least with these front two, it can be crucial if you can stick with him for the whole stint. We don't know what will happen during the pit stop phase, whether he can jump the lead. That's the number 69 in the JPS racing car, jumping the number 2 Pure Racing team, currently leading the race. It's going to be quite interesting. It's going to be a long wait away until the pit stop phase.
Yeah, down, having a look through the pack, you've got yourself a 3-car battle currently going on between the driver who we're having a look from the rear from. That is Alan Neves in Phoenix Motorsport, and then Bun Surpers in the Mad Cape Racing Team, number 74 machine, as they work themselves once again through P1 down towards the Fungus chicane. These drivers having themselves a nice little scrap right now, Rachel, but as this race will progress, it's going to get more and more difficult to make passes until you get to the very end of a run. You've got to make sure that you've got enough in reserve in your tank as far as your tyres are concerned. So have a look on board of Rudy DeWitt in the number 51 machine. If he's in this pack of drivers, you just want to try and keep it easy. Not push too hard, then pounce when you have to during the phases of pit stops.
Yeah, exactly, Will. And it's the sort of time where, especially a race of this length, you might consider an alternate strategy. Put yourself on a slightly different cycle to some of these guys. That way, you're on fresher tyres when they're on older tyres. You can start making jumps, and it does allow you to somewhat control the race from your point of view. But of course, it's always tempting to try and stay on the same strategy as your competition. Make the tyres last longer. Maybe take them, maybe don't. Maybe take a bit more fuel. It's all the mind games that will come into this race, and we have a lot of it left to see.
We do, and we do know from this one that there are 1 or 2 drivers who will try and make it on just a stop once every hour. Now, most of these cars can get roughly within that window. We have seen, as we're riding along board then with Yana Panakit in the 15th position now in the Team Digital Racing car, we have seen that that can be an interesting concept for some of these drivers. Johnny, do you run a little bit harder throughout the course of the race, not worry about fuel, but potentially have to give up a little bit of track position at the end by another pit stop, or do you try and make it on just the number of pit stops that you have?
Well, you certainly, if you've got the racecraft, you can afford to fall behind others and start to pass. As we watch number 15 now try to set up a move on the number 17 TSPC Evolution car coming down towards Spa, and as well as pit stops, you know, in a 3-hour race, you've got to play strategy. Oh, he gets very close to the back of him as well. So, you know, certainly some aggression at the moment. It's an interesting dilemma. You can go one way and show ambivalence, or you can go another way. You know, it's whatever you feel comfortable with.
Got ourselves a nice, and I mean a very nice battle going on right now down in the mid-pack. Here you can see Christian De Rieder, Aaron Gearing, and DRS Racing and Restart Racing battling, and just behind them, you've got yourself Randy Chenworth trying to come back through the field and get himself past one driver. He's going to have to get himself past another one as well. And the thing is, for Chenworth, because he's so out of position in that number 72 Spirit of Le Mans car, he's going to have to get around some slow traffic. But for him, if he's going to get himself anywhere near back on pace, being already 33 seconds off the race lead, Rachel, he's going to have to get past that Aaron Gearing car very quickly.
He will indeed, and well, they're running too wide at the moment with that Restart Racing green car and the DRS Racing 89. That's blocking the track somewhat for Randy Chenworth, though once bitten, twice shy. He's showing a little more patience this time as they make the run to No Name Corner down to Pugnon.
Yeah, actually, he's working himself now on the back stretch, and here you can see Randy Chenworth going side by side on the outside through a Blanchimont. Here they come then, Randy Chenworth going to look to the outside. Can he make it stick? As they work themselves out of the corners, side by side still, almost 3 wide, they work themselves down into the bus stop chicane there. You've got yourselves the number 55 car holding that outside line, Chenworth on the inside line into the bus stop chicane. They remain side by side coming out of the corner as we go back along board then with Randy Chenworth in the Spirit of Le Mans car out the final corner, down towards turn 1, not able to capitalise, and part of that will come down to the fact that he has obviously got himself some damage to his rear spoiler, Johnny.
He did have some damage, but I think as well he was probably a bit more of a sitting duck on the outside of Longchamp, but yeah, it just allowed Marcus Lambert and the number 96 to play that perfectly. And as we always talk about, passing in motor racing is a game of chess, and Marcus played that to perfection. Now he's taken away P23 from Randolph, who's falling behind even more, and that's certainly not the way they wanted to start off their endurance event. Lots of time left to go, 2 hours and 47 minutes, and look at Randolph as well, under attack from Liam Quinn behind.
Yeah, having a look up the field a little bit more. Some of these gaps, Rachel, starting to get a little bit more spread out, but the battle for P7, P8, P9 does continue.
It does indeed, and P8, of course, that is SRB Racing with Artan Maya. He's having a pretty good fight leading this little 3-car train right now with the Torque Free Racing 19 and the 79 of Phoenix Motorsports. Yeah, it's exactly the place he wants to be. He is the lead car in that 3. He's getting some benefit of the draft from the guys behind him, but it's not a huge amount. And because obviously there's a 3-car rather than a 2-car, the benefits for each one of them will be lower. So he's controlling this. He's in a good position. It's 8th. It's inside the top 10. They're within sight of the front. Granted, it's 11 seconds back, but you know, it's a good place to be. He's now in the catbird seat. He's waiting. He can really dictate the strategy from here. He will probably be the first of these 3 to pit if we do see that, unless of course that Torque Free Racing car, who seriously wanted to go past, makes it.
Yes, as you can see, a nice gaggle of cars now. And this is the thing about Spa, everyone knows it so well. It's oh so easy sometimes to just get yourself stuck in a battle and not be able to move up or down the field at all. As we're having a look now from the rear of Arthur Chan in the WR Racing car, who kind of leads this 4 or 5 car group, P6 through to a P9 on the racetrack right now. But good to see these drivers still battling hard out front. Sven Buchner continuing to put the pressure on, right on board with him as he works himself back down towards Leclerc, and a defensive line being taken by Peachler right now. This is just breaking the toe to Sven Buchner, who does look as though, Rachel, he's not specifically trying to make a pass, because otherwise he would have danced to the outside, sorry, the inside line, along with Peachler to keep that toe. I think Buchner is very happy just staying in line, and one of the comments, of course, I made earlier is the fact that you can save fuel here to help yourself in that pit window.
Absolutely, and as much as I said it was good for the guys of SRB Racing to be at the front of a pack, GPS, they're second. That's exactly where they want to be for 99% of this race. The only lap that you have to lead is the last one.
Indeed. It's one of those things that drivers in this sort of racing will always know. It could very well come down to how you manage the course of this race, not necessarily how fast you. It's a bit like the hare and the tortoise, the good old Chinese folk tale there, Johnny. Sometimes the tortoise will win because of the fact that they are the driver who's able to best manage every phase of the race, not just a lap by lap basis.
Yeah, and if that's true, then slow and steady wins the race, as usual. I mean, that's probably the English translation, at least in my head, for that. But I think Bruckner, though, on the run to Les Combes, he should have at least pulled into the slipstream and kept the pressure on Pichler. Now Pichler in front. He was on the back foot before that. Now, I don't think he's on the back foot mentally, at least. He knows that Bruckner's not going to really be aggressive on a pass. So now you can see he's sort of pulled away already, very deep into the braking zone. He's driving very confidently now in P1 since Bruckner behind didn't pull into the slipstream, and you probably want to pull into the slipstream as well to save some fuel.
Yep, just give you an update, by the way, on race control. There's been 2 incidents reviewed so far, one of them concerning the Spirit of Le Mans car and the V-Apex Racing Group number 31 car for avoidable contact. That was, of course, down at Air Rouge. No further action on that one. It's actually as they came up the hill into Rodillion, if I'm going to be perfectly correct. And also the Pit Speed Endurance car and Forex Racing avoidable contact. No further action on that one as well. So far, race control having a pretty easy day of it, Rachel. And it's one of those things that as long as people keep their heads cool, we should be in for a great race here today as we check in on Felipe Pavia again in the SRB competition car, working himself through Rouge Rodillion.
Yeah, exactly, Will. It's one of those things, it's a long day here, so Everyone's just got to be patient, and everyone's got to pick the moment. It's very easy to get caught up and do something you regret. And as
Slow
we've
down
known from
for
the past,
Pavia,
race control
actually.
here.
Sorry,
Yeah,
slow
as
down.
we've known from the past.
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you. Slow down for Pavia, and this is one of the things that will catch drivers out throughout the course of this event. The fact that they will just cut that inside line at the end of Rodillion just a little bit too much. Now, we're going to slow this down for you and try and get another look at it right about here. You see there's a dashed area on the X side and on the outside of Rodillion. You can put 2 wheels there. You get all 4 wheels across, then essentially you're going to get yourself a slowdown penalty, and that is exactly, Rachel, what happened to Felipe Fabia there.
It is indeed. It's very easy to do. We all really want to cut that corner when you're a racing driver going up that complex. It's absolutely vital you try and get as much speed as possible, because you will be killed on the straight if you don't get it. So it's very tempting to try and straighten the corner a little bit more than you'd like, and that's a killer. You slow down there, you're done.
Sorry, Rachel. We've got ourselves Randy Chenworth involved in another incident. This one, I think, is going up the hill too wide again at Rouge Rodillion. Let's see what happens then to Randy Chenworth, because he's been involved in his second big incident of the day. I think this one is a game changer for him. They work themselves side by side, then up the hill they go 3 wide down into La Cune. Now, this one can work, but you've got to be ultra careful. Coming down into the corner, does anyone yield? Well, they do. As you see there, we'll just stick it with this replay and figure out exactly what happens next. But Chenworth in a 3-wide situation, he was able to get through this bit. Then as they ran down to Rivage, you see a little bit of a wiggle, 3 wide down. Oh, you don't do that, Randy. They're 3 wide down into Rivage. And that was a case of a gap trying to be made from a gap that didn't really exist, Johnny.
Ultra aggressive there. That was crazy. I mean, well, you should have at least just backed off the throttle slightly downhill as well. So you got to brake slightly earlier. Yeah, just too ultra aggressive. I mean, it's only 20 minutes into the race, and well, his race has just gone from bad to worse, you could say.
Well, to having a look at it, I believe that is the... I'll just get confirmation before I say a car name. Maybe the Absolute Beginner's car. I did have a look at it again there. It's actually number 12 machine there, the Restart Racing car. He did come across a tiniest of amounts, but the issue is, of course, is that generally you don't run 3 wide on that run down to Rivage. We'll get another look at it. Right about here, you can see that Restart Racing car. Now, he does come over a tiny bit, but you've got 3 cars. Actually, no. I have a look at it again. I do think that number 72 car was just a little bit too close for comfort there. But Randy Chenworth is on pit road. He's got a substantial pit stop coming his way as well. The 4X racing car of Andy Morgan. There you can see him struggling, and he is back out onto racetrack. 28.4 second stop for him. You've also got, I believe, the number 12 car scored on pit road right now, Van Geering, but he's pretty much been on pit road for a while now. I'm sure this incident will likely be reviewed, but Randy Chenworth is having a pit stop, and it is a long one for him. There we are, 27.8 seconds back out and away, but he might get a penalty out of this one as well. As far as your overall race lead goes, they work themselves behind the trees, back down towards the bus stop chicane. Here you can see second place driver Sven Buchner in the GPS racing car, using a lot of that curve on the exit of Blanchimont. And that's one other area as well, Rachel, that drivers are going to have to be careful for. Race control will review drivers pushing wide on the exit of Blanchimont. They've got to be careful. If they do it too many times, well, they'll get themselves a warning. After that, they'll be heading themselves down for a stop and go penalty on pit road.
Yep, definitely. And whilst straightening a corner can get you a slowdown penalty by the stewards and electronic race control system, running wide typically does not. But it's one of those corners where you will gain a lot of speed, being able to just carry more through that corner of Blanchimont. Big runoff area, nicely paved. It takes away the, shall we say, the penalty of running off the track. Somewhat similar to the new version, shall we say, of the Parabolica at Monza. There's no risk anymore to pushing wide, so drivers will carry more speed. They'll willingly run off, and it does gain you time, so race control will definitely be keeping an eye on people abusing that one.
Running on board with Ben Kuipers, and now you can see that dashed area on the exit of Rodillion. That is one area that you will get an automatic slowdown by the iRacing.com first systems. Actually just ahead of him, you got Alan Neves and Rudy DeWitt going side by side, so they work themselves down in towards La Cune once again. They can see Rudy DeWitt is going to be the driver in that number 51 car, taking the inside line, and it looks like he's going to get himself the position on the exit of La Cune. So Rudy DeWitt, who started this race, in 13th, now up into the 10th position. But no, Alan Neves decided to stay behind. What that does actually is allow Ben Cooper to look right to the outside through Rivage, as they work themselves on the exit of Rivage down into No Name Corner here. This is where, again, you'll have another area that drivers will be keeping a specific eye on. This is as they work themselves down into Pure. You see that very nice outside line? Well, you can push wide there. You can actually gain yourself a little bit of time or not lose too much. Race Control will be paying very close attention to that one to make sure that drivers don't get themselves into a situation where they're gaining an advantage. Down in the pack, you can see Kuno Butchman trying to make a pass as we ride on board with him. This is a battle for P20 on the racetrack between himself and Felipe Pavia. Of course, Pavia just a moment ago had himself that slowdown penalty on the exit of Rodillo, and right now under pressure from the Stepo Sim Racing team. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll step aside for just one moment. We're going to go side by side. We'll be back after these messages. Stick with us.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 of Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide down the super stretch point in the turn. And now the 93-39, the 3 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. It's the race to the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start-finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go. As you love it. Here we go. You love it. The 0-1 gets around. The 5 gets around. Big jump.
You don't miss a moment with Side by Side here on RaceSpotTV, part of a special presentation of the Gathering of Tweakers Endurance Series. Don't forget, if you get bored of us lot, you can go and check out Hugo Louise's onboard camera feed as well. Thank you very much to good old Hugo Louise for joining part of the action here today. German and Van der Door in the VAPEX Racing Group going side by side and getting himself past at number 24 car. German and Van der Door's getting in this side by side action right now, Johnny.
Oh wow, and throughout the break there, the side-by-side action, there is plenty of side-by-side action. And now Andre Estevania is in a bit of a sandwich here with the cars in front around him, the number 24. It's been a very, well, there's been some battles going on. I can't remember who it was. It was quite a while ago at least. But we're talking about during the ad break, the Clean X standings. For those who don't know, the cleanest teams throughout the competition. And the number 72, unfortunately, has to be said, currently 5th in the standings after today's race, probably won't be anywhere near the top 5.
No, there'll be another Clean X standings involved by them. It's having to given out to all the drivers who Randy Chenworth's been involved in incidents so far in this race. By the way, other tissue companies are available. We are not endorsed in any way, shape or form by the Clean X Tissue Company. Have a look through the field then. Here you can see Rudy DeWitt having a nice little freeway scrap right now as we have a look. From the rear of Italian Mayer, we've seen him already in this race. Gap between himself and Rudy DeWitt, and this is racing for Hodden car. Well, that's about 4/10 of a second on the racetrack as they work themselves down the hill, down in towards the Eru's Radio Complex, up the hill lake. And that camera angle, Rachel, it really does show how big that elevation change is through that complex.
Oh, absolutely. And just walking that section of track, you could tell it's humongous. It's 200 feet nearly. And those cars, it doesn't feel like it when you're on the track, but it's a massive change. I think it certainly rivals Turn 1, the approach to Turn 1 at Circuit of the Americas.
Rudy DeWitt was able to get past, and actually, if you ever get the chance, don't do it whilst you're watching the race, because, you know, you're of us, and we're awesome. But after the race, go into YouTube, guys skateboarding, snowboarding, I think he was skateboarding down, he was skateboarding down the Eru's Radio Complex. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that one, Johnny, but it's insane stuff. Just how much speed you can get skateboarding down there.
Oh wow, and I've seen guys, what's that called? Oh damn, probably should have mentioned it if I forgot the name. But there's some sort of downhill luging, that's it, luge. And that's crazy, the people who do luge, and that's pretty dangerous. There's some deaths as well in that sport, so hats off to them for even wanting to do that, as well as motor races and sim races themselves going through lots of danger. But anyways, that Rouge and Radalon complex is amazing, and everybody, any motor racing fan knows that turn right there. It is absolutely thrilling to go through any car, any era, any moment of the race. And now 2 hours and a half. We just passed.
Oh, it's Dana Estefana. As we're riding along board of him, just clumped the wall there. That was on the exit of on the exit of Fangio, actually. Not really a place that drivers normally bin their race car, but Andre Estefania just saw him coming through the Fangio chicane under pressure as he worked himself on the exit of the corner, bam, hard into the wall. And, well, that's going to be a bit of a repair for him in what, Rachel, we do always say is one of the prettiest GT cars we've ever seen. I do, in fact, love the spider on the back, although for contractual reasons, if we ever go to Barber in this series, they're probably going to have to take it off.
Yeah, they probably will. No, gorgeous race car, and love seeing some of the paint jobs we've got in this series. Good teams have put a lot of effort into their cars. Unfortunately, that one's a little less pretty now.
Yes, as we have a look for them from the rear of Estefania. He did stay out onto the racetrack. Now, these BMWs, Rachel, we've talked about it before. Front on impact, it's fine. We'll carry on. He'll get some repairs on his pit stop. The thing is, we're about 20 minutes away from the pit window being open. Therefore, you'd want to minimise the amount of time lost. Now, as I talked about pit stops in this race already before, the BMWs can generally go longer in these pit stops than anyone else, which is one of the advantages that they have. In fact, this is going to easily be passed there as they work themselves up the hill, and that is by Felipe Pavia working himself at one position. But in this sort of event, you'll want to try and hit your pit stop window. GT racing, endurance racing, that sort of thing, you know you're not going to have a perfect car the entire way through. And that's when we get to the 24 Hours of Daytona in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to have to pay very close attention to the fact that drivers are going to have to drive damaged race cars, things that aren't perfectly handled, not perfectly tuned into a setup. So you're going to have to get used to it. And this is when endurance racing really becomes a driving sport for some of these guys.
It does indeed, and driving a damaged race car is certainly one of the fine arts, and I can tell you it's not easy. Sometimes it can be wheel full to the left when you're trying to go straight, and going right is very easy, but no engine cover on that BMW means it's probably going to keep him cool at least. Yeah, we've seen a lot of guys driving damaged cars. Remember the 24 Hours of Spa we ran here at RaceSpotTV? I don't think there was a single car in that field without damage, especially the roofs who got battered.
Coanda had no damage.
Well, Coanda didn't see another car.
Well, yeah, that's true. They were leading by so far. By the way, Patrick Peachler has now got himself a 3-second advantage over Sven Bruckner. We've seen this one before as we arrived on board then with the driver of Sven Bruckner in the JPS racing car. Just falling back in the middle of the stint. Now that could be Bruckner just taking it easy right now. He's not too far back at this stage of the event. And also the number 34 car had a little bit of a half spin there at Pure. And well, that number 34 car, having a look through my timing and scoring screens and can't see him. It was Brigade in that car. And well, there you can see him down in the 20th position. A little bit of damage though to that Simpit racing car. And he might be, yeah, in fact, he is heading onto pit road because side-on damage on these beasts, well, it's always a little bit of an issue for them, Johnny.
Yeah, it certainly is. You've got to certainly fix that car as quick as you can. I want to go back to Bruckner though in P2. I don't think he's dropping behind. I think he made a mistake. You look at the lap times last time, or at least on lap 13. He did a 2 minutes 22 dead compared to the Pure Racing Team number 2 who did a 2 minute 20.4 on that lap. So he lost around 2 seconds, 1.5 to 2 seconds. That's why he's dropped back to 2.9 at the moment. So it wasn't it wasn't just him dropping back for lack of pace. It was probably one big mistake, maybe a half spin or a little off track.
There they are. Super slow-mo replay. Ross Brivegrave making contact then at the end of that half spin, clonging it into that arm code barrier, and he would have been fine if it was a front on impact, but the side on this of that's put him down on pit road, getting himself a service, and that's going to harm his pit stop regime for this race, I think, just a little bit as well. As you can see, the V-Apex racing car on pit road as we speak as well. So there you can see Bridegrave coming out of pit road, getting himself a repair to his damaged race car. Back out onto the racetrack he will come. Currently scored and last in this field, by the way, is in fact, no, it is now going to be no Navy down towards the rear of the field. We've got ourselves all but one driver circulating on the racetrack. That is Randy Chenworth, who you just saw there on pit road, who has pretty much hit everything except for the IRC.com first safety car, because it made a bit of an escape, Rachel. Well, literally about 2 minutes, 20 seconds even, after it took off at the start of this race.
It did indeed, although I'm sure he might still find a way. We have over 2.5 hours left. There's still time for him to find the pace car and hit it, but I wouldn't put that past him. No, unfortunately, some drivers will put as much practice in as they can, and things will just not go their way. Randy, we know he's a good driver. That's not something we need to debate, but maybe just not in the right mindset today, and unfortunate for him and his team.
Yep, so we're having a look then. Daniel Kraft, he just had himself a little bit of contact with the wall, which you don't want on the exit of no main corner. Just get himself onto the AstroTurf, and bam, into the wall he goes. Game over for the time being for him. He was down at the rear of the field anyway. Down for the pack, Martin Blair is having a battle still with Ashley Owen, as we have a look from the rear then of the driver of Martin Blaze from McCain Sport, and TSPC Evolution car of Ashley Owen running himself about 1 second behind him on the racetrack. Lap traffic, well, it's starting to come into play. Not yet, Johnny. That's one of the advantages of this track, the fact it's a 2 minute 20 second lap. We still have ourselves 27 drivers scored on that lead lap.
You got to be patient. I believe in something called karma. I notice every time I get annoyed with lap traffic, it starts to play to my disadvantage more and more as the race goes on. But when I start to be calm and I say, alright, this guy maybe didn't let me through, I'll be calm, I'll keep racing, then for some reason someone rewards me around here and says, okay, lap traffic is going to be a beneficiary towards me. But now Ashley Owen is really close to number 6, gained a lot now through Rivage, and now on towards No Name Corner. It's might get a pass through Blanchimont. We might want to check this out soon.
Yeah, as we're checking it out right now, and that 17 car not quite close enough there. as he works himself still on the TSPC Evolution car out of that corner. Can the Vortex Sim Racing logo on the rear of that car as well. Of course, some of those drivers are going to have a lot of fun in the final round of the Ice.com Pro Series of Road Racing, which will be next weekend, of course, here on RaceSpotTV. We did allude to it a couple of moments ago, of course, and this year, RaceSpotTV bringing you some amazing endurance races. By the way, that's a shout out before we get any further to Egil Sandfield from the last Neo Endurance race. That's something to bear in mind for tomorrow, as we'll go Pete to Crazy. Go Pete to Crazy of us tomorrow, only on RaceSpotTV. But in 2 weeks' time, in fact, I'm just thinking about it right now, Johnny. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be about a quarter of the way through the RaceSpotTV 24 Hours of Daytona, powered by iRacing.com.
Something that we're all looking forward to, and we did a great job at RaceSpot with the 24 Hours of Spa, and hopefully do an even better one with the 24 Hours of Daytona in 2 weeks' time, just before the Super Bowl, Will, which I'm sure you'll be pretty happy about there.
I'll be dead.
And it's, you'll be dead. So, it's, that's all I can say, really. I'm looking forward to that.
Then, of course, we've got ourselves the 12 Hours of Sebring on the 28th of March, the iRacing.com Petit Le Mans on the 10th of October, as well as the Bathurst 1000, which will be on October 17th. RaceSpotTV, also official home of the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, and as well as the 2015-16 Pro Series of Road Racing, and my favourite of all of them, the 2015 iRacing.com Indianapolis 500-mile event. So, to finish on the point that you're just making there, I'll be doing, I think I'm on 14 hours commentary for the 24 Hours of Spa, Johnny, and then I'm not going to say who I want in the Super Bowl because I'm too nervous to say it, but I very well could be a very happy person coming into that Sunday. I could be a very happier person coming into that Monday.
Well, whatever makes you a happy chappy is a good thing. Well, I don't want to comment too much on football at the moment, or at least gridiron, whatever you
call it. However, yes. It's been going around on the internet. I believe the Colts will win. Yet they stole the American soccer thing, was we ride on board with Joe Jr. in the Radical. I have to say, our graphics guy, Hugo Louise, has put Joe Jr. as a Club UK and Ireland driver. He's not. He's actually from the wonderful islands of the Caribbean. So Joe Jr., I do apologise for that one. But the Radical Steel Series car running himself right now in the 4th position. 13.5 seconds off the lead right now. And Rachel, we haven't talked much about Joe Jr. He kind of is running in no man's land right now.
He is right now, Will, but we did see he had quite a good run at the first event, of course, at Sebring. So we know he's a talented driver. He has a lot more to come from him yet in this race.
As we have a look on board then, classic helmet then for Joe Jr. as he works himself up the hill. You can see the car working itself up the hill then, into the sunlight, through the trees, as he is scored certainly about 7.4 seconds ahead of Sven Anders Palmes in the Falcon GP car. 40 minutes now of this 3-hour race is scored complete. That means we're about 15 minutes away from most of these drivers heading themselves onto pit road. It's been another slow lap though for Sven Bruckner in that number 69 car as we ride along board with him. His last lap was a 2 minute 21.881. 2 seconds slower plus than his fastest lap of the race, Rachel. And more importantly, he's falling back that last lap again by 1.2 seconds. If he's losing time, he's losing it in chunks rather than a 10th here and a 10th there.
Yeah, that could suggest he's having little mistakes across the track wheel rather than it being a tyre issue perhaps, or that maybe that he's saving fuel. It's definitely along the lines of a little bit of perhaps infamiliarity with the car, few issues maybe with that, but it's, of course, these guys are all driving the same setup, so they're all having to drive the same feeling, and he just might not like it. Although I do hear we have an incident with the number 6 right now.
Yeah, I'm just going to check in that one. He's actually just exploded, literally exploded. So we're going to find what's happened to him. We've got a couple of things from race control to have a look at as well. So then, where is the number 6 car? I can't find him. We will find him, ladies and gentlemen, I promise. But yeah, he has had himself one of these guys.
It's Martin Blaise,
there we can see him actually. So we'll have a look on board with him, figure out what went wrong. Got a very bad feeling this could be on the exit of, oh no, big crash there for Martin Blaze in that Mechanica sport car. That reminds me exactly of something that happened back in the, what was the word I'm looking for? Back in the 24 Hours of Spa, Rachel.
It does indeed. We had several incidents like that, and unfortunately it's just pushing that car a little too hard, getting too far on that curb, maybe using a bit too much of that white line and just losing the back end, which is quite easy to do with this mid-engine McLaren.
Let's have a look then. Another look from our aerial coverage today, brought to you by And One Design, as he works himself up the hill, and we'll slow it down for you as they works himself out. And you can see that curb of death is a little bit like the curb at turn number 1 at Watkins Glen. You catch that white line on the outside is exactly what Martin Blaze did. We'll get in our driving expert Hugo Louise into this one in just one moment's time. But there you can see Martin Blaze slamming into the wall, flipping him upside down at speed. Now, that total number 9 car, very close actually hitting him. Martin Blaze flipping across the racetrack. Now, this is where generally you see multi-car pile-ups. Martin Blaze in that Mechanica Sport car, well, he is on pit road. It's going to be a very long stop for him. So, we'll get word from Hugo Louise, our driving expert, in a couple of moments' time. Trying to see if we can get a word from him to explain really the dangers of curbs like that, because it is very similar to one that he actually had an incident with his own teammate Martin Kroenke back in the 2013 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. So you can see we're bringing a look now again at Martin Mayer. Currently scored 9th place on the racetrack, working himself out of no name corner back down towards Prion, but actually just moving ourselves up the field a little bit as we go now on board with Arthur Chandler in WR Racing car, close right up now to the rear of Sven Anders Palmqvist, and this is the battle, Johnny, for P5, P6 Falcon GP between VR Racing.
Yeah, it comes through the exit of 14 and then on towards 15 Estavilo, and that's a very difficult corner to get traction as well. And we know Spa, there's a lot of people that make mistakes, as we saw there at Radalon. It was the number, I forgot the number, but anyway, there was a bit of an incident. I think it was the number 9 car, but anyways, it's this track, it's very crucial for the exits. There's fast sweeping corners and fast exits, so you've really got to tune the car up perfectly. You can't really afford to have oversteer. And look at Arthur Chan there, getting a bit wide through Blanchimont.
Yeah, that's going to cost him about 3 to 4 tenths of a second as he works himself through the bus stop chicane. Now, one of the things, actually, Arthur Chan's onto pit road. 45 minutes, pretty much exactly, he makes that journey on towards pit road, Rachel. So, one of the first of our drivers really inside the top 15 to blink here.
Yeah, and this could be a lead for the other teams. Of course, guys will be watching this stop, seeing where it brings them out in traffic, and starting to figure their own strategies. This could be a planned stop, it could be a required stop based on things that have happened to them, but it's going to make everyone look at them and see what happens.
Well, it is going to be a very clear 3-stop race for him then, as he's onto pit road, getting himself 4 fresh tyres. He will top up, and Steve Greenwood's going to get into the car then. So a driver change here as well in the early going, so you can see the VR Racing car on pit road. New driver, Steve Greenwood, is going to get into that number 18 machine. Good first run for it in what is a bit of a mashup between two liveries there, Rachel. You've got yourself an English flag in there, but then you've got the maple leaf of Canada as well.
You do indeed, of course, celebrating the fact that their team is both Anglo-Canadian, with 3 Englishmen and a Canadian on the team. That is Arthur Carr, I believe, who's the Canadian driver. Yeah, Steve Greenwood, one of the British drivers, getting in there now. So those guys heading off in that very patriotic machine.
Yes. And of course, Britain and Canada are the best of friends, and that means it's a wonderful day for Canada and therefore the world. As Steve Greenwood brings that car back out onto the racetrack. Now, these first laps, after you get yourself, in fact, the first couple of corners, when you come out of pit road in endurance racing, really is that moment of kind of fear, Johnny, because you don't actually know if there's any damage to a race car that no one's picked up. Of course, generally, the driver who's been in there will kind of know if they've hit anything or if their balance is a little bit off. But your new driver getting into a car someone else is driven, you come into it, then you might not know everything, they might not have told you, and also it's, well, someone else done all the hard work, I can't go and bin it.
That's something where you have to communicate between teammates to say, all right, I've damaged the car here, I've made a mistake here, car feels like this. You need to give as much details as possible so that you bring a extended and wide and broad comfort zone for Steve Greenwood, who's just jumped into the car, or whoever jumps into the car after you for the stint. And that's a lovely, lovely English and Canada livery I've just watched as well. And Canada was previously a Commonwealth country, wasn't it?
It
Unlike
still is
Australia.
a Commonwealth country.
It still is a Commonwealth country.
Yes.
A republic, aren't they now, Canada?
No, they
I
are
might
still
be-
a member of the Commonwealth. They go to the Commonwealth Games and everything, I believe.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong,
Hey,
then
is there another Commonwealth country in this booth right now?
I think there is.
Yes.
Could well be.
What country is that? I can't remember.
Could be New Zealand.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got
I'm
more
not sure.
cars coming onto pit road, by the way. We've got Ben Cypers coming on towards pit road. There we can see him into his pit box in the Mad Cape Racing number 74 car. So the first BMW in, Rachel. So they don't think that they can do it to the 60-minute window and then run 60, 60, 60. We have seen, of course, in the Spirit of VLN series, some drivers in the BMWs go 60, 62, 63 minutes. Ben Cypers, there, I think that team's deciding, nope, we are going to basically do it. So we run flat out the entire time. That Mad Cape Racing team onto pit road, making its pit stop 27 seconds and a little bit now scored complete of that one. They'll be heading back out in the next 5 to 6 seconds.
They will indeed, and it's a valid strategy. You might want to keep your tyres a little bit fresher. Of course, more pit stops equals, of course, more tyres. So these guys will, of course, be able to run that bit harder, and it is an alternate strategy. Rather than running 60, 60, 60, where you do have to run to a certain window and your tyres may drop off. If these guys can run it a little bit shorter, but go faster on the track, it could benefit them massively.
Just to let you know, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we won't be joined at this moment by Hugo Luis because of the fact that there's someone taking a siesta in Brazil, so in his room. So, unfortunately, you won't get the voice of Hugo Luis, and if I imitate it, he will absolutely destroy me. Patrick Peachler now has a 7.3 second advantage over Sven Buchner in that battle for the race lead. We're going to show you the biggest movers and shakers in your race so far. It's going to come up on the top left-hand corner of your screen. And you can see Rudy DeWitt is your biggest mover inside the top 10. Started this race in 13th position, Johnny. Is now scored in the 6th position on the racetrack. A good start to the race by him. We have seen him make a couple of moves, and he's not coming onto pit road just yet.
Well, wonderful race as well, Rudy DeWitt, as he's up towards the back of the Falcon GP car. And that is, the driver in that is currently Sven Anders Palmqvist. And he's under pressure now from the number 51 Sim Racing for Holland car. And look at this now, on towards the downhill run, the downhill scream towards Eau Rouge and Radulon. It's going to be, it could be another pass here for Rudy DeWitt. He's having a great start to the race.
I think more than anything, can you just say Rouge for me again with that nasal tone?
Eau Rouge.
Thank you very much.
That's...
As you can
It
see,
sounds
Is
like
that
a Frenchman with a bowler.
it really, you can see we did away. He's going to come alongside, so we let themselves down into Lacombe and down on the inside. That number 51 car's been so strong there, side by side through the corner. That number 51 car will hold on over Sven Anders Palmqvist, and he will get that pass complete. So that's another position then from our biggest mover inside of the top 15, as you can also now see Troy Barman in the Mad Cape Racing number 73 car doing what the 74 car did just one lap ago, Johnny, and that was come onto pit road.
Yep, pit stop time. 10 minutes to go until the first hour is completed. Rudy DeWitt though, he's certainly now under pressure from Sven Anders. He hasn't pulled away as much as we thought. And Rudy DeWitt though showing lots of aggression, which is nice to see. I've been a bit impatient with drivers over the past 24 hours not showing enough aggression. Good to see some, whether it's a 3-hour endurance race or not. Oh, look at Sven Anders. That was very close. Break. I thought he missed his braking point for a second, but now he's gathered it up and hopefully gains traction on the exit. He does on the run towards Stavelot.
Yeah, we're going to have ourselves another look at that one because it was mighty, mighty close there as they worked themselves down in towards the final chicane. And we'll slow it down right here. And you can see, I mean, it does look a lot less when you get on board, but you can see he was very late on the brakes there down into the final chicane. Very lucky there. If he was probably about another 10 metres late on his braking zone, would have ran into the rear of Rudy DeWitt in that number 51 car and probably would have upset both of those drivers. Having a look down the field though, here you can see Christian de Ridder for the first time on our screens in the DRS racing car. One of only a few 4GTs in this event. Christy Dorito, of course, has had a lot less calamity than the other one we saw a little bit earlier on, Rachel.
He has indeed, of course, reducing our field of 4GTs somewhat. It's not been a popular car in the GT3 series it's entered, of course. A bit of a weird handling car, not particularly as quick as the others. Of course, a series is balanced on performance of those cars, but not quite reaching it in that regard. It is nice to see guys running it, and of course it does lend itself to some team's abilities, and it's great to see those cars running. It certainly is a pretty car, in my opinion.
Oh, it most definitely is. We had a look there from one of our many onboard cameras. And also, 12 spots up now from his starting position is Christy Dorita in that DRS car. So not a bad run for him at all here today. So just going to turn our attention back to this drive. In fact, no, we're going to turn it back to this battle. And it is between Rudy DeWitt still and Anders Palmquist. Rudy DeWitt has been able to pull out a tiny gap, and I mean just a tiny gap, in that battle for the race lead. Just keeping an eye out, by the way, on drivers coming in toward pit stops. It does look as though that no one inside your top 15, top 20 is on pit road this time by. Only drivers to make a pit stop are Steve Greenwood, Ben Kuipers. So these are pit stops that are probably timed pit stops and scheduled pit stops. As we've got another one coming onto pit road, I think. So it's Steve Greenwood, Ben Kuipers, Trey Barman, and also Ross Bygrave have all made pit stops, as Andy Bajari is now onto pit road, and I believe it's that Racing Lions car of Rennie Chenworth right behind him. But here comes Bajari then to make himself a pit stop, as I believe the Racing Lions car is actually back out onto the racetrack, but it's no longer Andy Chenworth behind the wheel of that one. And Jacob Fife gets into the Integrity Racing car as well. So new driver, Johnny, for that number 36 Integrity Racing car.
Hopefully now they can go on a charge through the field. They started in 32nd position, not probably obviously where they want to be. They want to be a lot higher than that. But now on pit road, just waiting patiently. I doubt patiently. They're much more avidly to get back onto the track. Yeah, exactly like that. That's exactly the emotion they'll have in that car at the moment.
As we can see then, our pit lane cam, we'll see if we can zoom in on this driver there. You can see, getting set to go back out onto the racetrack here. 49 second stop then for that number 36 car of Jacob Fife, as we have a look then on board of him coming out of pit road. Now, the important thing about this one, Rachel, is that when these drivers do come out of pit road, you can see them taking that left-hand turn right about here, going back out onto the racetrack. It's tough. You're on the inside line all the way that run down to Erush Radio, and this is the last thing any driver coming back onto the racetrack wants. It's someone who's going to be side by side as they work themselves up the hill, but Jacob Fife just gets out the gas there.
Yeah, it's not a great position to be in. Of course, that pit exit itself is pretty tight, and it's very tempting to put a little bit too much gas in, and you can wash out into the outside wall, and that just ruins things in the most embarrassing manner. But yeah, it's an awkward pit exit. Not quite as bad as Laguna Seca, perhaps, but not one of my favourites.
An update from Hugo Louise, by the way. He is so hot in his apartment. He's currently using air conditioning, and it's still 30 degrees centigrade. So if you're wondering what Hugo Louise is wearing, I presume the answer will be, well, not much. As you can see, Five back out onto the racetrack then. Well, the good thing is, of course, is that at the same time, Johnny, at least you don't have to worry about the endurance pit exit, which I do think is incredibly difficult for these drivers because of the way it kind of re-merges after the Aries Radion complex. But also, it's so tight coming out of pit road. It's very easy to actually get yourself a slowdown penalty as you come back out onto the racetrack.
You also got that wall to the right-hand side as well. Remember the first time I ever exited that pit lane, the endurance pit lane, the first thing I did, I didn't crash into the wall to the right. I'd spun towards Arush to the left, or Radlon, and that was lucky it was just a practice session. It was a practice session.
Oh, God.
So there's no one there to at least ruin or end my life for me, which was good. But we ended up continuing on throughout the race with none of those mistakes, and these drivers, though, have the benefit of exiting through La Source.
Well, we've had Ashley Owen making a spin there. You can see the rear end of it. And I'll tell you what, I think that's the second time I've seen that same number 9 car avoiding an incident by a matter of inches. I'm just having a look, actually, see what car it is. Yeah, it's the number 9 car. That's the second time in the last half an hour he has avoided a crash or a spin by pretty much inches, and so you can see good, incredibly good driving by that number 9 car here today. The car behind him, however, wasn't so fortunate. I believe that was someone just around him. No, we'll come back to figure out who that one is, but I have to say, Rachel, that number 9 car is like a cat with multiple lives. Even though they are scored 1 lap down, they are finding a way to avoid the big incidents.
Well, that's what you have to do, really. Sometimes when you haven't perhaps got the same pace as some people, you could just avoid all the crashes they're in, and suddenly you find yourself in the top 10. It's surprisingly easy to do, and it's especially good in endurance racing because it's not all about speed. Tortoise and the hare proverb we spoke about earlier is almost a definition of endurance racing. It doesn't matter how fast you are, it doesn't matter how many laps you lead, it matters about who is there at the end.
Just to let you saw it in your screen, Timo Vorhorst on the Talk Creek racing car, working himself past Ben Anders Palmquist, right on board with Rudy DeWitt, who is actually back down into the 7th position on the racetrack. So he has fallen back a little bit, but that car, 2 ahead of the one we're looking at, Rudy DeWitt, that Talk Creek racing car, Timo Vorhorst, is moving forward in a hurry, Johnny.
He is, and I don't know why Rudy DeWitt has gone
We'll have a
back
look.
behind the number 82. We'll have a look anyway. That's disappointing because he was certainly on a charge throughout the field now, but he's going to have to make his way back through. And I think Sven Anders Palmquist in that number 82, he breaks very, very late into turn 13 there, and so that's just probably driving style. Maybe it's a bit extra weight on the front end where it allows him to carry extra speed into the corner, and then the weight itself slows the car down rather than the actual brake pedal and brake pads.
Let's give you an update on some of the penalties that have been handed out so far, as Patrick Pichler is onto pit road. So we have a look then on board of him as he makes that journey down pit road. So we know, of course, about the Spirit of Le Mans car. They had a stop and go penalty for avoidable contact, then a second stop and go penalty for not following penalty rules. So they had themselves 2 stop and hold penalties. That's why they wailed down the field. We have a look then at the pit stop time for Patrick Pichler, who gives up the race lead for the first time in this race after 25 laps, and pretty much 1 hour of this race being scored complete. Also, we've had ourselves a stop and go penalty again for the Spirit of the Le Mans car. That was against 4X Racing. And then we've had ourselves the Apex Racing Group spiriting, guess who, the Spirit of the Le Mans car. No further action. The TSPC Evolution car protesting, guess who, Johnny?
Spirit of Le Mans?
Yep, no further action. And then the Radicals, number 1919. We talked about Joe Jr. a little bit earlier on. He's had his first warning for track boundaries. That is what we alluded to a little bit earlier on. Drivers running themselves a little bit too wide on the exits of the corners, especially at places down like Pouhon, also at Blanchimont. Patrick Pichler completes his pit stop in 56.4 seconds. Back out onto the racetrack he will go. Well, there's an update, ladies and gentlemen, of your penalties so far. All but 2 of them have been awarded to the Spirit of the Le Mans team. That's, I think, a new record here, Johnny.
Well, unfortunately, they're not the Spirit of Spa-Francorchamps, and
of course, that's down the road. Can you not? I know you don't know Europe that much, but
yeah,
Le Mans in France, kind of near Britain, and Spa is down, a couple of hundred at least miles away.
Oh, I knew that. Come on, you just didn't give me a chance to say I knew that. That was but no, I mean, this is probably a race. All seriousness now, race they'd rather forget. I think it's to come back stronger with 2 rounds remaining after this. Monza is next on February the 14th, if I'm not mistaken.
We're changing the track for that, actually, and it will be at Interlagos.
It's not Interlagos instead. I missed that.
We'll come back to that one in just one moment, because we've got a number of drivers on pit road right now. Nigel Owen, for example, making himself a pit stop. A couple of drivers come back onto the racetrack with Ronaldo Silva just completing a stop for him. 41.6 seconds for the driver of Jandix in the Stoppo Sim Racing Team car. Coming back out onto the racetrack, you got Robin Rosenbeek as well. Absolute beginners, 54.2 second stop for him. And Marcus Silva in the Bit Speed Endurance car completing a stop, as well as I do see Sven Bruckner coming onto pit road, as is Carlos. I haven't said this driver's name once yet. So we'll start with Sven Bruckner in the JPS racing car, making his first pit stop of the day. Also have got yourself the driver of Charlius Christopoulos coming onto pit road. I think that was close to being right. Joe Jr. onto pit road. Yuri Litlock getting into the Radicals Online car. You've got Zen Brooklyn staying in his car, but as you just saw there, Kisuluku Nestorius getting into the Hellenic Racing Team car. Yuri Whitlock there in the Radicals organisation. He say he will be taking over duties from the driver that we know as Joe Jr. You've also got yourself Sven Anders Palmqvist currently scored on pit road. Rob Straitman's getting into that car for Falcon GP, so a driver change in that one. Andre Martins taking over for the Phoenix Motorsports car. You've got yourself the Spin Pit Racing car on pit road. Rudy DeWitt still in the Sim Racing for Holland car. Joe and Fandador. Let's see if someone tries that one in the V Apex Racing Group car. Looking as though he will stay in the car for the time being. Nick Cool even is getting into the Team Digital Racing car in the 12th position right now. A very busy pit road then. Just over 1 hour of this race scored complete. More drivers coming onto pit road as well. Well, we said that these drivers, if they can make it to the hour mark, they'll run a specific strategy. That is what most of these drivers are doing here today, as Straightman then in that Falcon GP car leaves pit road in the Falcon GP car, coming back out onto the racetrack as we ride back on board of him. Straightman saying that Falcon GP is one of the very accomplished sim racing GT drivers. Most of the drivers made it to the 1 hour mark, Rachel. That means they will pit in 1 hour's time, and that will be it.
Well, barring any issues, of course, on track wheel, that's the plan. I think most of them are going to follow. But, of course, let's not forget the poltergeist of Le Mans is still on the track, so anything could happen.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, 1 hour of this race is scored complete. Rob Straitman in the 11th position. Timo Vorhus, by the way, has yet to make a pit stop in that Torque Freak racing car. Only other driver not to have made a stop yet is this one, the Ford GT of Christian Dorida in a DRS racing car. But as Timo Vorhus works himself out of Blanchimont down into the bus stop chicane, will he come on towards pit road this time by? The answer to that question is a resounding yes, as we have a look then at that driver working himself onto pit road, and we'll keep an eye out to see whether or not we'll get ourselves Chrissy Dorida coming onto pit road as well. There you can see Timo Vorhus onto pit road, and Dorida working himself. He's actually, well, way far back, so we won't even find out for a couple of moments there, Johnny.
Timo, though, I want to say, entering pit lane, he almost hit the wall to the outside, and I've heard of, there were a couple of teams at Spa who hit the pit lane wall. It's very tight in there, and that cost them pretty much the whole race, 24-hour race, just by hitting the wall. Even a slight hit can damage the car significantly, and that was very close for them, but luckily it's all clean, no touching of any walls, and they're going to continue with their pit stop at the moment. It seems like David Baraclough has jumped into the car there.
Yep, set number 19, Torque Freak racing car, a new driver for them. As we'll keep an eye out as we have a look there high above at Circuit Spa Francorchamps. And we'll keep an eye out as well to see whether or not Christian Dorida is coming on towards pit road. There you can see the pit stop time as it's down, and Dorida is staying out, so he will actually go longer than anyone else in that first stint. So that little 4GT getting some good gas mileage. And who said that American cars get 0 gas mileage when they just beat him all of the homemade German cars, as there you can see. The number 19 machine getting
and
himself
English,
back onto the racetrack. And English, yes, okay, we know. But here you can see David Baraclough getting himself back onto the racetrack in the Torque Freak racing car. Back into, well, just missing out on 7th position by a matter of moments. 52.5 second stop for him. Bit of a longer stop, but he's on a slightly different strategy right now to Troy Barnum in that number 73 car as he continues his journey on the racetrack. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll say 1 hour 54 minutes of this race scored complete. Don't forget, if you'd like to see live timing and scoring, head over to livetiming.nickthiessen.nl. In the interim, we will step aside for just one moment, and we are, ladies and gentlemen, going to take you side by side. We'll be right back.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 of Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide down the super stretch point in the turn. And now the 93-39, the 3 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. It's the race to the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go.
Oh,
As you
my
love it,
goodness, here we go.
you love it. The 1 gets around, the 5 gets around. Big jump. The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 of Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide down the superstretch point in the turn. And now the 93, 39, the 3 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. It's going to be the race to the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start-finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go.
Oh,
As you
Brad
love it,
Davies, here we go.
you love it. The 1 gets around, the 5 gets around. Big jump.
You don't miss a moment with Side by Side here on RaceSpotTV as we have a look then at... Who are we looking at? We are looking at the driver of Rudy DeWitt, who's been involved in a nice little battle with Troy Barman ever since he came out of pit road. We did see a replay though, but scary incident actually, with Johnny Simon, Johnny, I'm just going to move Rachel away. Also had a bit of a moment there. We saw with these entire set of drivers, Johnny, as they worked themselves through, the hill down towards Air Rouge, very damaged race car, almost collecting all of them. That was Ben Cypers, who was running in that car. In the 74 machine, damaged race car, almost emulated Riku Alatalo there.
Yeah. Oh, well, they're continuing on, which is... Oh, actually, no, they're not. They're in pit lane. I was watching a delayed feed there, unfortunately, but I want to actually... I've been watching mostly, at least, was Rudy de Wit is behind currently the Mad Cape Racing Team number 73, one of the 2 Mad Cape Racing Team entries. And it seems that the McLaren cars break very deep today into corners, and they carry lots more speed. We've seen that a lot as well compared to the roof. Obviously, we know different models of cars as well available for all the drivers in this series. There's 4 of them, if you didn't know. And as well as Rudy de Wit, he's been entertaining today. Probably my driver of the day so far in terms of entertainment. He's been producing the goods so far.
He has been indeed. Barclay a little bit slow though that time by as they work themselves out of the Eruge Vidilion complex, and this is going to allow Rudy de Wit a chance to get alongside. And that number 51 car as they work themselves down in towards Lecune once again. De Wit on the inside. You've now got Barman on the outside. Rudy de Wit will complete that pass. Nice and easy there. Down into Lecune. Nicely done by Rudy de Wit. Up another position. Now in P6. Up 6 spots from where he started. Back where he was a little bit earlier on. Now, having a look at the pit stop for some of these drivers, I do think some of them are going to have to save fuel or go into a free stopper. A free stopper will completely destroy their race, Johnny.
Yeah, pit stop's going to take very long as well, and we know you obviously lose speed and time as you're stopped into the box. Those on a 2-stop, that's the ideal strategy that you want this afternoon, and those who are on a 2-stop are on a charge towards the front, and that's what they need to do to keep on going. Saving fuel, it's all about endurance racing, and in any form of motorsport, fuel saving is crucial. And today, those, as we mentioned, on a 2-stop are on the right strategy.
Now, just having a look at Marg Vigurius. He's making a pit stop. Now, we're just having a look at the race control board, and it doesn't look as though that this is a penalty. We will give you an update, or if it's exactly 60 seconds, we will know. No, it looks like it is a time pit stop, 50.8 seconds. Back out and away then from Mark Vigurius in that 4X racing car. To give you an update on what has been going on as far as penalties are concerned. There has been a warning for avoidable contact to Integrity Racing, and that was for an incident on lap number 28, turn number 1. That was with the Gas Holes racing car there, Johnny.
Where is the Gas Holes racing car? There they are, P25, and I think they're the last car on the lead lap at the moment, with a nice little livery there, the cyan and red. That's something intriguing they haven't seen too much. Nicholas Ward driving that machine on the run down to Rivage, and he's right behind. Is that the number 34 of the Apex Racing Group car? So they're in a little scrap for the moment with an hour and 45 left. Hopefully he can catch up to the back of that car, hopefully get into the slipstream and set himself up for a pass on towards P24 on the track.
Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow here on RaceSpotTV, we provide you with coverage of the 3rd round of the Neo Endurance Series. It will be the 6 hours of Spa, and it will be live in its entirety here on RaceSpotTV, your official home of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series and the iRacing.com Road Warrior Endurance Series. Well, Rachel, after 3 hours here in this quote-unquote support series tomorrow, we do it all again. The big difference, of course, multi-class racing, and multi-class racing here at Spa leads undoubtedly to a couple of people getting just a little bit ticked off.
Well, of course, that's one of the biggest interests, shall we say, with multi-class racing, is that you have cars of very different speeds. And if we've seen anything in iRacing.com's multi-class racing series, it means it's always going to be lots of fun. So, it could be an interesting one.
Well, running on board with Steve Greenwood in the WR racing car. Now, he's been trying to catch up to Andre Martins in the Phoenix Motorsports car, but last time by lost that position, Johnny. So moving himself out of the top 10 with the WR racing car. For Greenwood, just needs to be a case now of keeping it nice, cool, calm, collected. He has got a car behind him, which is not for position. That is the number 74 car, which is working himself past. And you can see that was Ben Supers actually back out onto the racetrack. And, well, it's the sort of thing in that situation. the car is trying to put the pressure on. He wants to get as much time back as possible. You can do it, but for Greenwood, he decided to just stick in line. Although, if he's going to close up this much and lift up through Blanchimont, Race Control might have a couple of words to that driver of the number 74 car and just say, look, if you're going to make passes, do it in such a way that you know you can pull ahead and not hurt anyone else around you, Race. Because that last time, Greenwood's lost 2 seconds in this lap to Andre Martins.
Yeah, I love close racing, but for a lapped car to unlap themselves and then turn in on the other driver through that was Curve Paul Frere, that was very close. That was too close for a car unlapping itself. And Steve Greenwood as well was impeded a bit there. And if the stewards want to have a word with them, they will. If they think there's nothing that has gone wrong, they'll leave them be. And I think at the moment that's Ben Kuipers in the number 74. He's certainly on a charge to the number. Where is the number 11 in front?
Quite far away.
20 seconds?
Cypers has got himself the number 11 car. So our time and scoring showing is 30.4 seconds right now. And even though, Rachel, some of these drivers scored laps down, they are racing for individual positions. And that's one of the things, these long races as well. Just because you're a lap down, even if you're 2 laps down, you can still gain up a lot of track time, as long as you don't become Mika Hakkinen disheartened.
Well, exactly. Of course, by the end of this race, I fully expect quite a lot of cars to be 1 lap down or more. So it will still be very important positions they're going to be fighting for. We'll see it in a 24-hour race. 2 cars finished on the lead lap. So it can happen.
Yeah, so we'll have a look from the rear of Rob Stratemans. He's taken over that Falcon GP car. And he's currently scored, well, about 0.7 of seconds ahead of Paulo Tadio in the SRB racing car. These 2 drivers had themselves a good little scrap that's been going on pretty much since the drop of the green flag, Johnny.
Here they come through Savalo and through the exit. Look at Paolo, though, using a lot of the AstroTurf. Had a great battle since the pit stop phase. We'll wait just under an hour until our next and final pit stops for those who are 2-stopping, which is the ideal strategy, at least in my opinion, to complete this race. And I'm sure most of you will agree with me here. And yeah, I mean, basically just a little bit of a scrap going on. He seems to be catching up slightly. We'll check the lap times next time around for both these drivers.
Yeah. Also behind them, you have got yourself a little bit of a scrap going on between Berka Kratcher in, well, what is a very yellow front end of his car. It's got a bit of dirt on it, that Team Turkey Motorsports car. And the Stipo Sim Racing team, which in itself has got an amazing, I mean beautiful livery on that car. These 2 drivers are separated by about 0.6 of a second, but Karka been able to get himself past Jan Durkix, now scored 6 tenths of a second ahead of him, 1.3 seconds faster than last time by. I do have to say, I do love some of the liveries on this car. This one is one of my favourite, I think. Cream and British Racing Green, Rachel. It's got to be done well to work, and I think this team have just perfectly pulled it off.
Oh, it's a great combination, but as you say, it has to be done right. Very classical sort of colour combination. You see creams and greens, creams and reds, creams and royal blues. This team has pulled it off. It's minimalist, it's clean, and it's a beautiful, beautiful car.
As they come back down in towards turn number 1 once again. This is a battle at the rear of your field. And last time by, pretty close separating between those ones. Go back to this battle we were talking about. Well, 1/10 of a second faster is the answer to that question. Last time by, Straightman's in comparison to Paolo Tudlo. But Tudlo's had himself an issue on this lap. He's lost himself a full 3 seconds there.
Have a look at that. Where
did he
lose that? It seems to be...
I think it's coming up the hill. I think it's coming up the hill. We'll have a look at our replay. Got plenty of time, so we can find it. As Tedlow here, you can see in the SRB racing car. At this point, he was okay. You can see right on the rear, and we talked about him using quite a lot of that curve, being a little bit aggressive there in that SRB racing number 8 car. He works himself through the bus stop chicane, all nice and pretty through here. Come out the corner, no issues at all either. A little bit of oversteer on the exit, but that's not too much to worry about. You kind of like it at times. Then the drivers wet themselves down in towards turn number 1. So Paulo Tedlow in that SRB racing car. Where does he lose it? On the exit of turn number 1, does he? No, he's okay through here. That means I think it might well be a slowdown penalty as they work themselves up the hill. Not the first time we would have seen that one today. So we'll just have a look. We'll slow it down as we come down into Air Rouge, and you've got to be careful. Those lines on the exits with Dillion always slow it down. Does he have the 4 wheels crossing? Yes, he does, Johnny. Look at that. Just a little bit too much. And there you are. Slow down penalty immediately issued.
A scruffy few seconds for them in the number 8 car. Yeah, turn 1 was pretty much butchered, and that cost him a big run down on towards Les Combes, and then the slowdown penalty. He took it through Les Combes, actually, and then finally gained the time, or at least stopped losing time towards Straightman's in front. So, oh, well, he's just going to have to keep his head up. You're not going to let yourself drop after a few seconds lost. I mean, there's still an hour and 30 minutes left in the race.
Yeah, as you can see, Andre Martin's putting the pressure on, though, for what is going to be... No, he's gone off again! 2 laps in a row there! Oh, for Paulo Tedlow. And he was very lucky that time not to do a Randy Chenworth and just slam it into that outside wall. So we'll get ourselves another look at that one. This time we ride along board with him. We'll slow it down. And people these days at Air Rouge, you know, they think it's oh so easy. He just got himself that big wiggle, exit the corner, 2 wheels onto that AstroTurf, almost catching the green line of doom. He does just about hold on though, Johnny. Very good car control by him.
Yeah, watching his steering inputs, perfect opposite lock through there at around over 200 goals, around 170 kilometers an hour. That's been, wow, that was pretty impressive. Watching it again from the cockpit view here in my special commentary booth where I can get my own camera angles. But wow, that was a pretty good save, and I think he's going to have a bit of a fast racing heartbeat for the next few minutes at least.
Well, this is one thing I was saying. In fact, he did actually put 2 wheels onto those lines again, and here you can see them. Full opposite lock, sliding, just missing that green line. And actually, it's worth mentioning the fact that underneath that green line, you've got yourself a rain grate, basically, so that water can disappear and it doesn't flow completely down the racetrack. It's an important safety feature, actually, on these cars. But one of the things that just kind of really highlighted, Rachel, is the fact that if a driver makes a mistake, you can do one of 2 things. Put it away, compartmentalize it, or make another mistake because of the fact that you're dwelling on it and trying to make back lap time.
Yeah, it's very easy as a driver to do one of 2 things. You either have a wobble and you never take the same corner quite as fast again or quite as tight because you're afraid of that happening a second time. And that obviously costs you a lot of time because you're just remembering what happened and you're nervous. Alternatively, you can go at it with complete gay abandon and just go flying through a second time thinking, nah, it's fine, it was a wobble, it doesn't happen to me again. And turns out there's something wrong with the car, and you do those donuts of death into the wall.
Yeah, having a look then from the rear of Rob Straightman as he works himself up the hill. Currently scored in the 7th position on the racetrack as they come back down towards Les Combes once again. Troy Barnum is just a couple of tenths of a second back. Was able to make the pass though, did Straightman's down into La Source. A nice overtaking actually manoeuvre, which will show you once again in just 1 second's time. But again, that Rob Straightman's car has been very, very good here today. We'll get ourselves another look then. You see, work themselves out the final corner. At this point, Barman is ahead. But as they work themselves, you see, very good manoeuvre. Good old-fashioned Nigel Mental Patrese dart there as they work themselves down in towards turn number 1. Then down on the inside goes the number 82 machine of Rob Straightman's Falcon GP, moving himself up 1 position. Perfectly executed pass down in towards turn number 1 on the racetrack, Johnny.
Yeah, it was all set up really into the braking zone of the bus stop chicane. He pretty much just, he braked really deep. And I think the car in front, that was Troy Barman, had a terrible final chicane. And that's what allowed Rob Straightman to make that maneuver into turn 1. And as you said, Nigel Mansell-esque, he's into P7 at the moment, Rob Straightman. So nice job from him to move up the field.
Got ourselves Patrick Peachlow continuing to lead the way. Gap between himself and Zen Bruckner. 10.7 seconds on the racetrack. Now, last time by, Bruckner was actually a half second faster than Patrick Peachlow. 10 seconds means, as far as this goes, that there's a lot that can really kind of go on here. Lap traffic, when it comes into play, Rachel, it can completely change the course of this race. This isn't a road Atlanta. You're not going to lose 4 or 5 seconds immediately, but it's very simple to lose a second and a half. If you get bad luck 5 laps in a row, well, game on.
Yeah, certainly. And with it being such a big circuit, that is a huge factor for these guys, and it's one they have to really be aware of. But it's all about the exit at Spa. With so many long straights, you need every mile an hour you can get. Mess it up, it's cost you for more than one lap.
Having a look down the field then, we've got ourselves some good separation between some of these drivers. That then, ladies and gentlemen, gives us the opportunity to run through your field, powered today by And1 Design. We start then by having a look at Patrick Pichler. He is your race leader. He has led all but 2 laps in today's event here today. Sven Bruckner has led one of them, and also David Barkwell, the James Darkhart's car, has led 1 lap. But for Patrick Pichler, he got the start good, got himself the early advantage, and really, Johnny, that is all he needed to do. Leading, not dominating, but leading and managing this race.
Crucial for the championship as well. They're in P3, pure racing team, and they're only about 20 points behind leaders JPS Racing in the standings, and that's for they're currently in P2. JPS with Sven Bruckner, as you said just there. He's up behind the lap car at the moment. I'm not sure who that is, but they will hopefully get out of the way very shortly. It was a great fight at the start, but obviously Pichler moved away quite early, and after about lap 10, wasn't it, where he started to pull away, and since then he's just never looked back. It's been quite a clean race for him so far, as we almost passed the halfway point.
Sven Bruckner runs himself in second position. There you can see him working himself out of La Source. Down the hill he comes, down in towards the Air Rouge Rodillion complex one more time for him, right along board. As well, Rachel, the important thing to note is we've got 2 cars who are both BMWs in the top 2 positions. They are driving away with it right now, but the important thing for them is that they both made it to the 1 hour mark as far as pit stops are concerned.
Yeah, they have, and it's really important to note that obviously the cars handle very differently, but with second and third both being Beamers and first place being a McLaren, it's a very different style they have, and it allows drivers to brake different ways. McLaren being more mid-engined, they can lift and coast into the corners a little more than the BMWs, and they can save a bit more fuel that way. But the BMWs obviously have some different options themselves. Not drive it as often, so I can't really comment. But it's going to be interesting to see just how they fare. Obviously right now it's 11 seconds, and we have to point out that Patrick Pichler in that PRT car only didn't lead when he was in his pit cycle. So pretty dominating performance from him as he comes up to lap. I believe that is the number 88.
That's actually number 89. It's that Ford GT car who we saw a little bit earlier on go the longest in the race on a pit cycle. To continue to run through your field then, we head ourselves down to 3rd place driver, which is Kislogu Nestoris in the Hellenic Racing Team car. Now, these teams, they started off being very close, Johnny, to the race lead. Only a couple of seconds off. They have drifted back. The gap to the race lead now is up to 20 seconds on the racetrack. But this car, this team, they are just slowly plugging away, and a 3rd place finish for them here today, I think, will be more than what they would have wanted.
Yeah, wonderful performance from them, and you can expect in endurance races obviously to fall more than 10, 20, 30 seconds behind, rather than those short 1 hour or even half an hour sprint races. And that Hellenic Racing Team, as I just said 5 seconds ago, they have done a terrific job. Very clean, consistent race from them, and they're just going to have to make their final pit stop soon and hopefully complete the race on a high, as they are now, and finish on the podium.
So then, coming through to have a look at the next driver, that is this one, which is Yuri Litlock in the Radicals Online organisation, 30 seconds behind the race leader. But that Talk Freak Racing car, sorry, not Talk Freak Racing, the Radical Steel Series car is up 2 places from where he started, as he just lets the number 11 car go past him. The number 11 machine, of course, is 4 laps down in this event. That is Simon Field behind the wheel of that one. But Rachel, good race so far by the Radicals team. They did, of course, get themselves a warning a little bit earlier on. That was for the fact that they were using a little bit too much of those out of bound areas. So Rory Littlelock's got to be careful because the next warning will lead to a penalty.
Yeah, it will for them, and it's very easy to use out of bounds areas here at Spa-Francorchamps. There are quite a lot of them, and he's obviously running a strategy race. He has to be a little cleaner. This is one of the middle stints, so it's not so much about the start and the heavy traffic or the end and the fighting for that finish. He's got to just hold his position on track, maybe gain if he can, but most importantly, not lose positions. Of course, that Restart Racing blue car behind him is not for position, so it's not really a fight he has to contend with. But I do believe that's the Restart Racing green ahead of him as well, so a bit of a team sandwich going on.
So then 5th place right now, it's that number 19 car. This is the Talk Freak Racing car of David Barclough, running himself in the 5th spot, up 3 spots from where he started this race. This roof has been moving for the field pretty nicely so far today, Johnny.
Yeah, not much else to say really. They started 8th in 5th at the moment. Good race from them, and only 3 seconds in front Rudy Witt, who's on a charge behind, and that's pretty much it. They've had a very, very clean race, and that's probably good when you're not mentioned too much. It means you're not in too much drama, it will.
So he runs himself in that 5th position. Started in P8. He's been involved in a couple of passes, but the driver behind him, he's the one who I like the most. That is Rudy DeWitt there. Scored 7 positions up from where he started in that number 51 car, and well, he has just been insanely good in that Sim Racing for Holland car, Johnny. He's been pushing along, and he's been making some very good passes. Bold, but not aggressive.
Yeah, you can't see me smiling at the moment talking about him, but he's gained a fan here this afternoon in me. He's earned those 7 positions from 13th to 6th, not just by little pit stops or little strategy nonsense. He's earned it on track with pure racecraft, and he deserves that P6 at the moment. He deserves a top 5 finish, and he's gaining time in front on the Talk Freak Racing car, the number 19. So that's something to watch out for in the next half an hour before the final pit stops.
Then heading back down into P number 7 is Rob Straitmans in the Falcon GP car. Now, he's up 2 spots from where he started, but he has been involved in some battles and not really profited much out of any of them, Johnny. He's kind of been thereabout. He's been a top 10 car. By the way, Andre Martin's on pit road. We'll come to him in a moment. Is he on pit road? No, he's not. He's actually lost it. So Andre Martins has actually spun that car around on the exit of La Source. We'll get ourselves a replay of that one. And, well, Andre was doing a pretty good job in that Phoenix Motorsports car. And this is the 2nd time at Spa that I believe they've had themselves a big issue on the racetrack. So, not the sort of thing that Phoenix Motorsports would have wanted to have happen. They can see down into the bus stop chicane, running very closely at the time with the number 73 car. That's a Mad Cape Racing Machine, or Troy Barman, coming out of the corner. Now, did he try and set himself up for a pass down in turn 1? It did look very close as they come down in towards turn 1, potentially looking for a good run out of the corner, and then he works himself out, and oh no, he just loses it all by himself by the looks of it on corner exit. Andre Martins is not going to be best pleased of that one. I think he just catches the white line of doom on the exit of the corner, and he's going to spear across the racetrack, sliding straight into that Armco barrier. Well, not even an Armco barrier, it's a solid brick wall there. Andre Martins, well, his race is pretty much done now on that Phoenix Motorsports car there.
Well, he got such a great exit that it seems like he almost got a bit afraid that he was going to hit the car in front. Well, they're in the pits now, and they were a terrific race in the top 10, so that's really unfortunate for them. But, well, yeah, as I always say, head up, keep smiling, and hopefully complete. There's still lots of 2015 left to go, 12 months. Finish the year on a high, start the year on a high. Don't stress too much. You'll be back. They had the pace for this round. Hopefully next round they do have even faster pace.
Yeah, no, so another replay then from Martins. He very almost catches. I want to get one more look at this. I know we've had 2 looks already. I want to get one more if we can. So it's a very difficult camera angle for where it happened. But we'll try to have a look. He does pretty much touch the rear of that Mad Cape Racing car. So we'll slow it all the way down. Our camera angle is going to change right about here. And he comes out of the corner. You can see just about here. He almost catches the rear of the 73 car. You're exactly right, actually, Johnny. He was so close to running into the rear of that 73 car. I do think that would cost him to just push that car get out of the gas, I think, whilst turning the car, and I think that's what the issue was.
Yeah, you just it's not just a loss of concentration, but obviously the car can't really cope with steering angle while putting the power down, especially at a circuit like this in Spa where you set it up differently. I mean, normally at a track where it's low speed, you might have been able to get away with that. I don't want to go into it all, it's a bit technical, but the car is set up a bit differently and it can maintain traction, but certainly there, and unfortunately, it's very sad to watch the name of Phoenix Motorsports going down the order as cars complete lap, what is this lap? Lap 40?
It's lap number 40. Van Buchner currently running himself in second place then. Gap between himself and the race leader is 11.75 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, second round of pit stops for most of these drivers is coming up very soon. That gives us the opportunity to step aside for one moment, and once again, we're going to take you side by side. We'll be right back.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun. It's all in control of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 of Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide down the super stretch point in the turn. And now the 93, 39, the 3 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. It's the race for the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go.
Oh,
As you love it.
Davies, here we go.
You love it. The 0-1 gets around. The 5 gets around. Big jump for first place.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Don't miss the moment here on Side by Side on RaceSpotTV to show you a replay there of a nice little scrap going on outside of the top 20. And this is what we talked about earlier on in this event, Johnny. Doesn't matter who you're battling with, always good to have yourself, you know, the mental fortitude to carry on, even late into races, if you are scored one lap down, as Marcus Silva is in that bit speed racing car. That does actually kind of remind me of the Citroen World Rally Championship car.
It does, certainly, and when you're one lap down, it doesn't mean the race is over. I mean, you can see the guys from 18th to 29th are all one lap down. That's a difference of 11 positions for those who can't do the math, but that's a lot of positions you can gain. So you've got to push always for all 3 hours. You can't give up. Motor racing is a sprint, and it's the same with sim racing. You got to sprint to the end, whether it's 24 hours, 3 hours, or even 20 minutes. You've always got to give it your all.
We see Ryan Walker getting behind the wheel of the Mad Cape Racing number 73 car. Now, they are on this alternate strategy, which I really don't think is going to work for them here today. They've got to, well, they're not going to get 76 minutes in a tank of fuel. We know that one to be true, so they are going to have to make a pit stop here in the latter stages of this race, and that does mean that they're going to be under insane pressure to push like there is no tomorrow for this pit stop. They're going to get it topped up right to the absolute brim. 50.3 seconds back out and away for them as they come back out onto the racetrack. Have a look on board. There's Ryan Walker. That does mean, of course, in just one moment's time, we expect to see the number 74 Mad Cape Racing team onto pit road, because last time by they were one lap longer. This strategy from Mad Cape, they've really missed something here today. I do not understand, seeing as everyone else has been able to pretty much go to the 1 hour mark, how these drivers just can't do it, because, well, having a look, you see, they have only got up one position from where they started. They will fall down to the end of the lead lap, considering how long this pit road is, if anything at all, Johnny.
Well, Mad Cape, definitely a professional team, and I think they probably should have, they probably see something in the strategy they've got tonight that works for them. But, I mean, they are, as I said, they are a professional team. You do want to calculate this stuff before the race, and, I mean, I just don't see any benefit to doing an extra pit stop to everyone else. You're going to lose so much time. And I mean, for Ryan Walker Torres, he's going to, I mean, just give it his all as usual.
Well, we have had a technical difficulty for the driver here on pit road, which is Charlius Christopanopoulos going to get back into that car. Unfortunately, his teammate had himself a technical glitch, so he had to coast that car back to pit road. The Hellenic Racing team, after running in the third position, dropping down the order dramatically, and this is going to really hurt their race here today. And that's going to be a shame for the Hellenic Racing team, because they're running very well at the start of this race. What it does do, however, is promote this driver into a podium position. So the Radicals Online organisation now up into the third place on the racetrack. 5.3 seconds is the gap between the Radicals team and the Chalk Creek Racing team. Last time by, though, TFR was catching the Radicals team. And Rachel, these two teams have a rich and, in some cases, coloured history. I'll be careful with using my words there. But there is a bit of a coloured history between these two teams, and they're catching each other on the racetrack. Just 5 seconds and change separating these two drivers.
Yeah, certainly. They're both two storied racing teams, well, especially in the endurance categories, and they've had run-ins with each other in the past. So these guys will definitely give us a battle worthy of television.
Just to give an update as far as race control goes, it's been a moderately quiet hour for these people after, well, a number of incidents in the first hour, all of them involving one driver. The second hour of it has been very quiet, Johnny, and the last one we had was the warning for Integrity Racing, and since then it's been, you know, race control putting their feet up and doing an Eggle Sandfield and having a pizza.
Having a pizza, and I would, well, at least I need a coffee here in the early hours of the morning. But yeah, I mean, race control, enjoying the next hour of the race, hopefully, and no more incidents. We want to see good fighting, clean, absolute millimeter perfect racing here by all the drivers, and they're all skilled enough. Remember, this is the support series to the NES, which is tomorrow, the 6-hour event on RaceSpotTV. It's showing us, giving a bit of a showcase for that tomorrow.
It is. Did you just do a promo there without my permission? Go on, go ahead. Wait,
you said it, not me.
Do you want to do a full promo? I'll put some music on. 3, 2, 1, off you go.
NES, 6 hours on Sunday. That's my attempt at an American accent. That's tomorrow on RaceSpotTV. Check it out at Spa. It's going to be one heck of a race, and that's my best attempt at a promo here. That's my first attempt at RaceSpot, so thanks for that.
There we are. Don't forget the 6 hours of Circuit Spa-Francorchamps will be tomorrow. Start time for that will be 2 p.m. GMT. All 6 hours live with side-by-side coverage exclusively here on RaceSpotTV, because at RaceSpot we are endurance. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, if you're after live timing and scoring, head over to livetiming.nickthiessen.nl. I'll leave that on the screen so you can get your little pen and papers out and write that one down. Thanks very much to all the guys over at nickthiessen.nl, which is Nick Thiessen, for his work on that one. And live timing is coming soon to RaceSpotTV as well. We promise. We're actually currently moving our web servers. If you try and access RaceSpot.tv, unfortunately, it's not going to work. We do apologise. But riding along board then with the driver who had a bit of a moment earlier on, in this race, Iker Estefania and the STF racing car, out to get his car repaired, running in the 13th position on the racetrack right now. Rachel's been as far back as 22nd. This is as high as he's been all race long.
It is indeed, and they're certainly into a pretty good position. Yeah, no, they've had a bit of a tough one. They've fallen back some places, they've gained some, but they're sitting in a pretty good spot right now, and with what is essentially an hour and 10 minutes remaining, coming up on the next pit cycle, they're not in a bad position.
Well, they're in an even better position now, as he just moved himself ahead of the 13th place driver, which is Jan Dirks, currently in that number 88 Stoppo Racing Team. Behind the trees it goes. So the Stoppo Racing Team car has been himself in the high and low all over the place today. He was in the 12th position till a moment ago. He's been as far back as 22nd place in that beautiful cream and BRG Racing green car, but now down in the 13th position. And to go back to the race control point here as well, Johnny, these drivers, they have been incredibly respectful of track limits. In fact, the only warning we've had so far has been the Radicals Steel Series organisation, which was for Joe Jr. a little bit earlier on in today's event.
At a track like this, though, you'd expect lots of widening or lengthening of the track limit, so it's been a good job by the drivers to, well, we know they're pushing it to the limit as well. I've been watching plenty of drivers, as you can see, as I just watch Jan Dirks there in the number 88 car run wide, just as we praise the drivers for not running wide on the track limits. And, well, they finished their pizzas, didn't they, Nick Thiessen just said, and, well, maybe now, as again, Jan Dirks runs very wide on Blanchimont. He's pushing it, I think, to catch up to the back of the number 24 ahead of him.
Yeah, and here you can see then the driver who was just given a warning by race control. That is the number 8 SRB racing car, Apollo Teglo. Though they've had themselves a couple of incidents already in this event for being a little bit wide at Radion, Rachel. They do continue along. This is the first penalty, first warning they've got. You get yourself one warning, and then afterwards you get a very costly penalty here because of the fact that it's such a long pit road, and then also because of the fact you have to serve 60 seconds on pit road. That means that essentially what you do is you lose almost a lap.
Yeah, you will. Of course, we've mentioned previously that you can get a automatic penalty from the electronic steward for cutting the exit apex of that corner, but there isn't essentially one for the exit. That's considered running wide, and of course you're apparently losing time according to the electronic computer brain. But in reality's sake, you are widening the exit. You can get a faster exit through the corner, so it's actually gaining and benefiting the drivers. So yeah, penalties are definitely a good idea for that corner.
So then you can see Tedlow still running himself at the 7th position. Just keeping an eye out, by the way, we're about in a window in 3 minutes time for the final round of pit stops. Drivers who have made themselves 2 stops do include this driver. Arthur Chan is behind the wheel of that car once again. Now they're not going to make it on with 0 more stops, so they are going to have to stop once again. That's a shame for the WR Racing Team car, because they were running pretty well at the start of this race, and you will see that on the graphic. At one point they were P6 in this event. Now down to the 17th position, Johnny.
They started P7 as well. not where they want to be. They're the first car a lap down, and ahead of them is the Pure Racing team who've just lapped them. And well, we've talked about them a few times, the WR Racing car. Lots of patriotism there for the Commonwealth countries, and well, all you can say really is that they're going to hopefully finish this race a bit ahead of where they are at the moment. They're very close to the Mad Cape number 73, who's just exited Stavilo ahead of him. So hopefully a battle on our agenda right there.
Yeah, checking in then with Russell Clayson in the V-Apex Racing Group. Number 31 car, sponsored by the incredible Simpit, who's hosted by, you know, the thing that made ISR really click, and of course doing a great job now in his own program, Simpit. So shout out to you guys who ride on board with Russell Clayson in that number 31 car. And I'll tell you what, Russell Clayson is a little bit better than mediocre at best, which of course is the most famous comment ever made by ISR. So watch the Simpit instead. It's an incredible racing show. Nick Cool is just 2.7 seconds ahead, actually, Rachel, in that Team Digital Racing car. And having a look at the lap times, he was a second slower than Clayson the last time by. So Clayson is coming moderately quickly.
He is indeed, and of course it's the end of the fuel cycle and tyre cycle, so these drivers definitely in a position where now it's more down to style and individual driving ability. Some drivers can save tyres better than others, as we know. Also, something to point out, unlike some of the other categories we see here in endurance racing, with these GT3 cars, fuel must be taken, then tyres, whereas cars at the Roof C-Spec can take fuel and tyres at the same time. So taking tyres in this car actually adds to your pit stop. So it's another strategic call teams can make. Do we run the same set of tyres for 2 hours or 1 hour?
Don't think
Do we
want
use
to.
that time?
I
No,
don't
you
think
wouldn't,
you'd want
but
to.
it's an option for people. Obviously we saw at the start there, we had a team come in a bit earlier. That means they could have much fresher tyres at the end if they choose to take them. Or worse, it depends.
I think the only people who will try and potentially not go tyres will be people like WR Racing and their final stinks. It will be a probably 20-minute dash to the line for them. By the way, we've got Marcus Silva having himself an issue on the racetrack, and his front end is a little bit beaten up right now. And he was going side by side with one of those Ford GTs we talked a little bit about earlier on. So let's see what we can figure out about this one as they work themselves down through Redillion, and we have a look then on board with Marcus Silva in the Bit Speed Endurance car. We talked only of him a little bit earlier on, but he's been on the wars since then. You can see looking down to the inside as they run down into Lacombe over that DRS car as they come down into Lacombe. Let's keep an eye out, let's figure out what happened. He just lost it all by himself there, hard into the barriers. Well, that is a bit of a difficult angle to show that one from, so we'll show it to you again. We'll have a look on board with him. So, a bit of a shame for the Bit Speed Sim Racing car, Bit Speed Endurance car even. But, Johnny, you don't want to do that with about an hour to go and you're about to hand your car over to a teammate.
Yeah, exactly. That's just made it worse for the team there. And as well as down at Rivage, he almost did a Lewis Hamilton 2010 and he hit the wall. Hamilton didn't. And he went right up into the gravel, collected that as well. So one of the most terrible complexes for him there, the few turns, and he's got a bit of damage to that car. He's struggling now at the moment, so probably definitely into pit road this time around.
Yeah, and he is just on the winner. We'll have a look then, see what happened at Rivage. You see push, 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 spin, 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 gravel, 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 wall, wall, wall. There we are. Nice little poem for you here on RaceSpotTV, describing what happened to Marcus Silva in the number 30 machine. Really bringing that car very slowly onto pit road. It's been a long lap for him. There you can see it is at least 20 seconds off the pace compared to what it would normally be, and he is indeed going to come on towards pit road this time by. 1 hour 2 minutes remaining. The important thing is he will, if he gets that car repaired, be inside of that window, Rachel. So if you get a crash, at least do it when you're inside your fuel window.
Oh, certainly. I mean, if you want to crash, you don't want to have to screw the strategy as well. That's 2 hits for the price of 1. But if you can crash, make sure you do it just about as you're entering pit road. Because that's certainly going to help the times, I suppose, if there's such a thing as a good and opportune crash.
Now, just go back to this battle we had between Radicals and Sim Racing Holland. because it's Melton Racing Holland, as they've been able to get themselves past the Torque Freak Racing car. So it's now between Yuri Litlock, who's running in that number 99 car in third, and then Rudy DeWitt, who is still running in that number 51 car. Of course, he will have to hand that car over during this pit stop, which is going to make it interesting to see who gets into that car and whether or not they'll be able to keep pace. But these two drivers, they are very similarly matched right now, Johnny. Last time by, just 2/100ths of a second separating them.
Yeah, and the driver who jumps in next into that Sim Racing for Holland car has got loads of momentum, but as well as loads of pressure ahead of him. And they are on a charge towards the podium. They are going to get a podium if they finish the race how I think they will. 10th by 10th, second by second, still an hour left. Hopefully they gain lots of time during the pit stops. I know myself as a driver how much time you can gain through the pit stops if you practice it. And hopefully they can. They're only 8 seconds behind a podium at the moment.
Yep, so you can see the gap is about 7.8 seconds as they continue their journey along the racetrack. And by the way, Nick, we really hope you did enjoy your pizza. Let us know what toppings it is, because we need to let Egil know what he needs to have for Sunday. He's probably bought it already. Patrick Peachler is onto pit road then, so it's going to be a new driver in that car, and it's going to be Andreas Olmsberger who's going to break our timing over. Thanks very much, Andreas. In the PRT car, coming in to make his second stop of the day. 12 seconds so far done for him, and Zen Bruckner is on pit road as well. Change our camera angle. You can see both of them there, Rachel. Olmsberger into the PRT car, and it's going to be Jan Nilius getting into the number 69 car.
Yeah, as we know, Jean-Paul Nilius is a very, very, very fast driver in that JPS Racing number 69 car. Both sat next to each other in pit road. It will be who blinks first. Olmsdinger also quick. We saw him in the STC Black Cup with PRT. But this could be a very interesting stop. Of course, GPS certainly looking like they just reacted to PRT's stop, I think, Will.
Yeah, they're both into the windows. You see Olmsberger comes out perfectly in time. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 1 hour of the race to go here. As Andreas Olmsberger brings his car back out onto the racetrack, importantly, he does get out ahead of some traffic. That's going to be important for him. So it's very important for him, actually, as it's going to help him dramatically as far as this battle for the race lead goes. You can see there, nice gaggle of cars and very well placed, and Ronaldo Silva is also, by the way, scored on pit road. So your second round of pit stops is taking place right about now. The SRB competition car is on pit road making his stop. You've also got Nick Cool in the Team Digital Racing car making a stop as well. And Dennis Garrison's going to get himself into that car for the Team Digital Racing machine. So that number 3 car is going to get himself a new driver for the final part of this race, Ronaldo Silva. There you can see him in the SRB competition car. He is up to 32 seconds. He will be coming back out onto the racetrack in a moment's time or so, as we'll have a look then from our aerial coverage brought to you by And One Design. So about 15 seconds left before he'll come back out onto the racetrack. These guys want to get it topped to the absolute brim right now, and pit road is going to become a very busy place once again. Ronaldo Silva, it's a very long stop actually, 54.1 seconds back out and away. You've got Dennis Garrison then in the Team Digital Racing car coming about ready to complete his service. So you can see him 53.2 seconds back out and away. Iker Estefania into the STF Racing car, making himself a pit stop. Ashley Owen on pit road as well. And Ashley Owen is in the TSPC Evolution car. Liam Quinn as well into the Absolute Beginners machine. Of course, they have themselves become a little bit famous in the 24 Hours of Spa here on RaceSpotTV. But Estefania is about to complete his service in that number 24 STF Racing car. 51 seconds, a little bit further than that. 54.2 seconds out and away. But you've got Ashley Owen right behind him as they come back out onto the racetrack. Riding on board with Ashley Owen. Now it's going to be a case of who gets a better run out of this section, and it does look as though Estefan is under a lot of pressure. Ashley Owen trying to get on the gas early, doesn't quite do it, but they have himself a very good run as they run himself up the hill. Cold tyres. Can Ashley Owen do anything here? And what is their battle for position? Just ahead, by the way, you have got yourself Antti Salomon and Pelukanos going themselves side by side right now, but we'll have a look. You can see that Salomon, they'll stay side by side out of the corner, but side by side again here as Ashley Owen to the outside in this battle for position, and the TSPC Evolution car pouncing early, Johnny. Can he clear him to the corner? The answer is going to be yes, he can, round the outside.
Wonderful move, and they're not going to attack, so Owen's got that position done and dusted almost as they go to Ravage. Nice through the complex, smooth, pick their lines perfectly. Now, in this final hour of the race, what this is going to give to, actually, the BMW behind, while I'm talking, it's right up to the back. We know different cars have different aspects to them that can help through different corners and how much speed you can carry through corners. But what I want to say was different drivers now in the cars, especially going back to the battle for the lead, it can really affect now your rhythm. It can really affect the team's rhythm. Now they've changed. Now you can see which driver's strong. Can they maintain the good job that some of the drivers have done, especially in the number 2 Pure Racing team, who have led most of the race, and JPS is 20 seconds behind. We'll see if Jean-Paul Neus can actually catch up in those 20 seconds. That's something to watch with 56 minutes remaining.
German the final door then going to make himself a pit stop in the V Apex Racing number 31 car. Had a couple of other people on pit road and will be off pit road before too long as well. Jaron Dirks into the Stuppo Sim Racing team car as well. As you can see, a final door coming back out into racetrack. 53.8 seconds stop for him, and Jaron Dix is working himself towards the end of his stop ready boot now. That is going to be again about a 50-second stop. Now, the longer you can go in this second run, some of these drivers getting themselves very close to the end. As Rory Whitlock's actually onto pit road as well. So he led a lap and he's now onto pit road. 53.4 seconds there for Jix. Now the Radicals car onto pit road as late as you possibly can. This might mean that you get yourself a little bit of track advantage, and we know that Whitlock is battling for position. He's also got David Barachal on pit road as well in the number 19 machine. So we'll stick it first, then you'll get Joe Jr. back into the car now. Joe Jr. hoping to close this deal off because previous driver of Whitlock was just going a little bit slower compared to Junior. Junior then making himself that final stop of the day. Barker behind him. He looks as though he will stay inside that number 19 Torque Freak racing car for this final stop. Of course, we have got to pay attention to who comes out the overall victor between these ones. You got Berke Kaka, by the way, also on pit road as well, into the Team Torquay Motorsports car. There you can see him just slowing it down to pit road speed. That was his last time, 55 second stop even for him, but he's now coming behind the trees, though we can see him onto pit road. Joe Jr. coming out of pit road, and there you can see the Radicals online car back out onto the racetrack. No one behind him, no one in front of him, and that's a perfect thing you want to see, Rachel, when you complete yourself a service.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, teams will calculate where to come out in traffic and where they're going to appear. So, very, very important to make sure you get that right. Because getting stuck behind some cars, even if they're on the same lap as you, can be really, really detrimental to the positions you're racing for in realistic terms. Of course, if they're still out on the track and you haven't pitted and you have pitted, they haven't. Yes, it's for a position, but it's not realistically for overall race position. Whereas the guy who comes in behind you might not get traffic, and that means he might get away with it faster, he gets quicker laps and will pass you. So, absolutely vital to make sure you get that right position.
Team Turkey Motorsports now has Febzikan Osyan behind the wheel of that machine as he completes his service. 52.6 seconds back out and away for him there in that number 10 car. We have a look on board. Yeah, you can see coming up pit road, he's going to have a little bit of traffic with that Sim Pit car with Fandador just 1 second ahead of him. Now, Fandador was actually a second longer on his pit stop. Comes out just ahead of the Team Turkey car, who had to have a second dab when he came out of pit road. But behind them, you have got these two drivers still battling it closely. And actually, Ike Estefania has been able to get back past in this battle for P17 and P18 on the racetrack, Johnny.
So we'll watch that for a second. Sorry, I almost... anyway, Sim Racing for Holland's just come in after leading the race for a bit as well, and Marcel Orfermans is into the car there. Now, as I said, a new driver into that car. How is he going to finish the race? We know he's got a bit of pressure to reach and pass. I think that's the Radicals car for the final podium position. So that's something interesting to watch now, where they feed out on the track and how he can fare himself in these early stages of his stint. With 52 minutes remaining, it's a hard charge to the finish.
Yep, so here you can see that Marcel Offerman's making himself the conclusion of his pit stop. We need to see where Joe Jr. is. Of course, as you can see, Offerman's then coming back out onto the racetrack. And here you can see Jr.'s already passed, but David Barraclough working himself now on the exit of the bus stop chicane down towards Lassource. Offerman will just about get this one, working himself out the corner. In fact, it's going to be a little bit more than that, because Offerman with a big advantage over David Barraclough as he works himself out of the corner. And here you can see Barraclough only now exiting turn number 1. So as far as that battle is concerned, Johnny, looks as though that is going to be a 2-horse straight fight now between 2 teams. That'll be Joe Jr., who's here in the Radicals Online car with a gap over Marcel Offerman. Will get a time as they work themselves, so hopefully past this timing loop. We're just trying to figure out what is going on here with our timing and scoring. But Offerman will have to do this one manually. He's about 2 corners back, 3 corners back, as Joe Jr. working himself through Rivage right now. And Marcel Offerman, well, he's just coming down into Rivage. So I'd make that gap to be somewhere in the region of about 11 seconds.
Yeah, if it is 11 seconds indeed, they've lost 3 seconds before the pit stops. That's not going to do them any good. And that's where Offerman's is going to have to start pushing now. There's no time to waste. You can't afford to say, I'm going to take 10 minutes to get settled. If you're going to be a pro, if you're going to win for your team, you have to make sure you're on the bubble early and quickly and push the car to the limit to grab the final podium spot. They've had such a great race, Sim Racing Volume. We've talked about it so much. And to finish on the podium on a high from starting on P13 on the grid will be absolutely delightful for them.
Well, here you can see another battle going on between Sven Anders Palmquist and Ryan Walker as they battle for position on the racetrack. This is P7 and P8 right now, and actually just behind them as well, you have got yourself Arsen Mayer battling for position. And to give you an update, by the way, it's 8.9 seconds the gap between Junior and Offerman, so it's not as bad as I predicted. 2 seconds faster there as you have a look on board with the number 8 car. Here you can see him of Artian Mayer in the SRB racing car, working himself out of Stavolo down towards Blanchimont once again. Now, your 9th place driver, we have a look to the gap to the race lead, is 1 minute 24 back. So it looks as though, as it stands, with less than 50 minutes to go, Rachel, we are going to have at least 10 drivers finishing on the lead lap. Traffic here hasn't been as big an issue as it will be tomorrow.
No, it won't, of course. Tomorrow we have multiple different car classes, which is going to mean that traffic will play a far bigger factor with them having such different speeds. And, of course, we know they handle very differently in corners, so that will mean we have some exciting racing to look forward to. And especially that key ingredient of multi-class endurance racing is how you deal with traffic. You can't win a race without being able to pass slower cars. Whereas here, the GT3 class is all pretty much equal, essentially. So a very different kind of racing here.
When we're having a look, it's going to be very close to the work themselves up the hill here. Artian Mayer had to back out of going too wide into Eau Rouge because of a car coming back out onto the racetrack. That was one of the V Apex Racing Group cars. But we have a look again. Here you can see it will be side by side between these 2 drivers as they work themselves down towards Lecun once again. Artian Mayer then in the SRB racing car, trying to get himself past the Mad Cape Racing Team car. Round the outside he will go, and he will breeze past, move himself up 1 position. And this SRB Racing Team car has been so late on the brakes all day long, Johnny.
It helps being in the BMW for that. That was aggression for you. For those watching technical racing without actually seeing anything really visually available to you, it doesn't make any sense, but I'll explain it in a second. It's the fact that Ayrton Mayer, I pronounced that right, is pushing it to the limit, and you can see that he set that move up all the way from the final chicane. He took his lines perfectly. He didn't get impatient. He saw the car coming out of the pit lane, pulled in front nicely, wasn't over aggressive, showed the exact amount of aggression. All I can say really is that he planned that move to perfection, and that's why now he's jumped up into P8 from the Mad Cape Racing Team, and braking late as well was magnificent into Les Combes.
Barraclough is battling with Offerman, battle for position then, and actually it's gap has grown. Something's happened to that number 51 car of Offerman, and this has allowed the Talk Freak Racing car right behind me. We do believe it was a slow down cut penalty down at Rodillion that last time by. So putting that pressure on Marcel Offerman, he did try and push it there on that opening lap or so, Johnny, but what he's done is he's really now hurt himself as he's got the TFR car right behind him. I mean, 0.3 of a seconds back as we ride along board the Sim Racing for Holland car, working himself back down towards Eau Rouge.
Yeah, unfortunate. Almost like a commentator curse. Look at TFR at the moment into the slipstream. Both roof cars now on the run through Rouge, and then rattle on. And oh, look at the Sim Racing for Holland car. Oh, look, just it's going to be side by side, isn't it? Across the main straight now, and oh, don't shove each other on the grass. Oh, look at Barraclough, almost gets onto the grass. It's very, very close now, Will.
Working himself back down then to Lecombe. Be the last of the late breakers, and this one you can pass on the outside, and that's exactly what the Talk Freak Racing car does. Moving himself up one position. We're having a look at the wrong car, that one, sorry. But they can see Marcel Offerman in the number 51 car losing a position then. So we were talking, Rachel, about this team potentially going for a podium finish. Momentum swings in endurance racing. Sometimes they go your way, sometimes they don't. For Marcel Offerman, he worked himself out the hill, got himself a little bit out of shape for the second lap in a row. Not the first time we've seen that one today. And then because of that, well, he lost himself the opportunity to get himself a podium spot, really, as now David Barraclough will lead that charge back to Joe Jr.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the biggest things in endurance racing. It's rhythm and it's flow. And when you're around another car racing for position, you have to switch mentality from your rhythm racing, shall we call it, hot lapping, to sprint racing. You're fighting for positions now. But it's very difficult to do that. These drivers, of course, have to basically change that mentality on the fly. And it's just cost him shortly here. And unfortunate for them, there's still time to come back, though.
Yep, Jeremy Fandor looking down to the inside there, and he will complete the pass over Trepalukinius as they work themselves out of the corner. It's a battle for P13, of course. That number 84 car attempting to work himself back up through the field on that Hellenic Sim Racing team car after a disastrous technical incident for them a little bit earlier on. But you have also got this driver here, the Team Turkey car, running themselves in the 12th place on the racetrack, and they see Team Turkey to German Fandor just half a second on the racetrack. Ladies and gentlemen, 45 minutes of this race left to go. We're going to take our final break, and then we'll be back after these messages. You're watching RaceSpotTV as we go back side by side.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Less than 40 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen, of this, the third round of the Gathering of Tweaker series here on RaceSpotTV. Here is a look at your race leader, the PRT car of Andreas Armensberger. Going to run a lap on board of him then, as he works himself down the hill. Johnny, this section of the racetrack, you listen to the engine though. These guys are having to lift in some of the cars, not in the others. You can almost let out lifting the gas depending on how brave you want to be. This run down to Lacombe is so much fun, but it also gives yourself the time to reset as you then calm down into the complex, into Sector 2. This is where things get a bit more difficult.
Yeah, this is one of my favourite tracks personally as well. Some people love it, and a lot of people don't hate it. And that was you got to turn that quite around. You like that, don't you? But as they come towards the run downhill to Rivage, this is a downhill braking zone. What I like about this braking zone here, you can see carrying lots of speed into the apex. There's lots of lines you can take into here, as well as overtaking around the outside. What's difficult about Spa is the exits, in my opinion. I mean, I've said it a lot today. Exiting out of the corners is one of the crucial elements to a perfect lap time around this track.
Well, Armensberger now coming down into Pure, and this is where, of course, we had the talk earlier on, Rachel, about these drivers keeping it nice on the racetrack, not using those AstroTurf bits on the outside. Same kind of goes to the final chicane, but realistically, if you're going to push wide there, we're going to lose a lot of time, as actually Armensberger is going to have Arthur Chan get completely out of the way.
Yeah, well, that's useful for him, though. The lap car, obviously, he's not realistically in a battle right now, which means he has that opportunity to be nice to the leader and let him go. Not what JPS probably want to see, but it's definitely the sporting thing to do. Yeah, running wide, it's, like we say, it's Spa. There is a lot of grasscrete and AstroTurf. It's nice and tempting to run wide, but those stewards are eagle-eyed.
Yep, and then down into the Blanchimont complex, and then down into the bus stop chicane for Andreas Almenberger, as he is going to get himself then another lap scored complete. That's going to be his 59th lap here of this race. So, of course, long lap time means that overall these drivers are doing a lot less laps than what they normally would be doing. You could just see that at the rear of your screen, though. Got ourselves a nice little scrap going on. And look at this one. Ike Stefano versus Ashley Owen versus Jan Dirksen, and you can see Ashley Owen thinking about going down to the inside. Not quite close enough. And I always talk about this, offense versus defense. 36 minutes of the race, he's still got the opportunity to do both, but we'll have a look then on board with Ashley Chan as he works himself down in towards Air Rouge once again. Now, he's been very late on the brakes so far in this race, but him and Estefania's having himself a great little scrap, Johnny.
Look at him now, Owen, into the slipstream. What an exit over Estefania around the outside, and then, as you said, on the confidence, or has the confidence under braking. Behind, though, Martins wants a piece of the action as well. He's into the slipstream of Owens, and as they brake for Lecomte, it seems Owens taking that position, but Dirks will have to wait for another lap. Sorry, not Martins, it was Dirks.
Yep, Dirks in the Stoppo Sim Racing team. They work themselves then back down towards Rivage once again. Even I'm rolling my R's now. What are you doing to me? German Fandor, by the way, in the V Apex Racing group. Oh, he pushes wide there. Put him on. Not what you want to do late on in the race if you're battling for position. Well, that will just get the eye of race control. You can get away with it once, maybe get away with it twice, Johnny. You can't get away with it every single lap, however, because otherwise you are going to get yourself into a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, in the rules and regulations for this series, you do, over a certain amount of penalty points that is fixed, that's technical anyway, but you do get penalty points for it. And in the standings at the moment after 3 rounds, it's very, very tight between most of the teams. So you want to avoid penalty points. And normally the best drivers do avoid the penalty points because they are most consistent. And look at the number 31 as well, going off at Blanchimont. So definitely being affected right now behind the 2 cars ahead.
Yep, as these drivers will continue to battle for position then with 34 minutes of today's event remaining. Let's give you an update though on... Oh, there's been 1 penalty for switching lane in the braking zone. That's a warning for Gashold Racing. There's been 1 warning given out in the last 45 minutes of this race. There's been a total of 2 warnings given out in the last 80 minutes, Rachel. These guys still playing it clean. We are back on board now with I'm going to say that name again. Christian Pelokas, as he's got himself German Fandor right behind him, and Fandor gets a much better run that time by out of Redalion.
Yeah, he does indeed, and that's a great line out. Really good momentum carried through. This is what we've been saying, though. This is about keeping that momentum running. It's flowing, it's rhythm, and it might well be the final minutes of this race. We've got about 30 minutes remaining by my clock, but there's no reason to break your stride yet. Time to go racing, but you've got to do it sensibly.
Yep, as we have a look then back on board with Fandor in the V Apex Group number 31 machine. Just behind him though, you got yourself Ilka trying to make the move back on Ashley Owen. We've got ourselves 2 nice little scraps going on. They are separated by quite a bit on the racetrack, and Estefania does seem to be a lot better in this sector of the racetrack. We've alluded to this one before, Johnny. Because of how late these BMWs can get onto the race compared to these roofs, then it does allow them in Sector 2 to just put the pressure on. However, Sector 1, it does seem to be that the roofs have a little bit better toe down in the draft.
Yeah, especially a corner such as Rivage, where the camber does help the people who do brake late into it. You can still pick up the throttle early, especially in a car like the BMW Z, Z4, whatever floats your boat there. What I wanted to talk about was German Afranador. He is ultra aggressive at the moment, missing apexes as well. So he's pushing it. He wants to pass Krista Kapolis and Ozgan in front in the Turkiya racing car. And battle's going on at the moment. So this race is certainly not over with half an hour remaining.
Right, so we've got another battle going on between Sven Anders Palmquist and Marcel Offerman as well. So we'll turn our attention back to that one very quickly, as they're working themselves down towards Lacoon right now. So this will give us a nice little shot as we go on board. Not close enough there for Sven Anders Palmquist. You can see the overspeed for him there is only 2 miles an hour, but much later on the brakes, which sets him up now for a good run through Lacoon. Now you can pass on the inside of Rivage if you're very brave. He can pass on the outside of Rivage, and that is exactly what he's going to try and do. Go down to the inside, down into Rivage. That one was timed to absolute perfection there, as you can move Sven Anders Palmquist now into the top 5 with 32 minutes of this race to go, Rachel. Johnny?
He's done a great job of that passing maneuver there, isn't he? He played it, he picked up his lines as well. It seemed like one of those moves where the guy in front, sorry, was that the sim racing, that was Marcel Offmans. He was just in a he was on the back foot the whole time throughout that battle. But anyway, now the sim racing bowling car doesn't really look like it's on for a podium anymore. They're just going to have to try and limit their damage for this second stint. They don't want to finish any lower than 6th at the moment. They got SRB behind, about 5 seconds behind. That's Ayrton Maya, who's had a great race so far for them.
Now, I did actually notice on that replay, Johnny, that the BMW, it just had a second dab on the final part of their coon, just a second dab of the throttle to help turn that car, but that also gave it, of course, a little bit extra push in a straight line. That is where these Beamers are so strong, and I think that's why he won that battle, as Christian, not quite close enough there, but very big on the brakes right now. Van der Door's calmed down a little bit, but now it's Christian Apocalypse who is really pushing in that number 12 Hellenic Racing Team car. Jonah Van der Door just right behind him.
Yeah, he has calmed down a little bit now, which is good because you have to play this to perfection, as we've seen mostly today in GT cars. I'd rather have the BMW out of any car out here today. I do like the McLaren more, but in terms of performance and a car that would suit me, well, BMW looks really well. Here's Charlios ahead at Blanchimont, has to back out of the throttle, dabs the brakes as well, and that might allow a Vanador through. No, a Vanador runs wide, so these three are going to stay in formation once again through the chicane.
Oh, very close though on the brakes for Charlie as he comes onto pit road. So this is a game changer for him, and this is going, well, he was always on a slightly different strategy. This was the issue ever since his technical issues earlier. So this is why potentially he was battling, but this is going to drop him a lap down, easily a lap down. This is going to put him somewhere around the Christy Reader range. So this is what the issue for him, Rachel, was. In fact, he had that technical issue in the middle of a fuel cycle. He's now got to pit now, make himself a pit stop to get to the end of the race. Game over. The team that was running third will finish outside of the top 20.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is, like you say, it's the end result of that strategy. It could either have been amazing and absolutely inspired, or unfortunately, as it seems to be, it's going to really shuffle him down. Your running order will. Just had notice, though, from race control that Frank van Brandvik was black flagged for a dive bomb on lap 60, and I believe that is I don't even know which race team that's from.
That was against the 4X Racing Team, so Racing Geckos there was the driver. It's 40-second pit stop, by the way, there for Charlios as he comes back out onto the racetrack. He will bring this car home, but it was the number 42 car who was the one who got themselves a penalty. That's currently being driven by Mikel Postima in the Racing Geckos car, and he got himself a stop and go for avoidable contact, and it was with the number 16 4X Racing Team who was doing that. In fact, Michael Postina is actually going to go side by side and get past Marcus Lambert there, so moving himself up one position. Now, if you are the Gasholes Racing car, just fall back into line. Postima's going to come onto pit road and don't fight for position. That could end in an incident at this stage of the game. But that number 16 car, there you can see him, the 4X Racing car, were the ones who lost out there through the dive bomb contact. So, well, of course, it never helps a team who was the victims, but the Racing Geckos with a stop and hold penalty for them, Johnny.
Well, not good for them. Certainly don't want that as well for a nice little paint scheme as well. Got some brands which I'm not sure if we're allowed to mention because they don't support us at RaceSpot. They should, because we're doing a terrific job here, as well as the drivers today who are pushing it to the limit as usual. And I mean, the race is into the closing stages now. I think maybe top 3 is pretty much settled actually. So yeah, everyone pretty much just ending the races on a little bit of a consistent finish for the moment, except for P9 and 10, who are into a nice battle 1 second away from each other.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Racing Geckos team is brought to you by DHL, Valvoline, McGregor, TW Steel, Bortelli, and also by Eurosport. Eurosport, they have more commercials than we do, so watch RaceSpot TV instead, because we're RaceSpot TV and we're bloody awesome.
I can certainly support that.
There we are. Well, this is the joy of being the director. We get to do whatever we want, Rachel. But side by side, it's the Fanny are going side by side right now with Jaron Dixon. This is the battle for 14th, 15th position. Dirks around the outside. He's going to have the inside line for the next part of the corner. Momentum builder here because it's going to be side by side out of the corner. And the Stepo Racing Team car has to run a little bit wide there. But they'll remain side by side to work themselves down into advantage. No, they won't. Darren Dirks will fall back into line. And this battle has been going on for a while, Rachel. It's still pretty good.
Yes, it is. It's very close, clean racing here between these guys, and they are being very respectful, but they are mindful that it's time to push, and they're doing just that.
Well, there we can see, ladies and gentlemen, the battle still going on for the 15th position. We did say that was our last commercial break. We have had a couple of technical difficulties, so we are going to have to step aside. We will be 1 minute, ladies and gentlemen. We shall be right back after this. The Neo Endurance Series, ladies and gentlemen, is coming your way tomorrow on RaceSpot TV. 6 hours around this magnificent racetrack known as Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, as we welcome you back now to our live coverage here on RaceSpot TV. Don't forget, for live timing and scoring in the last 25 minutes of this race, you can head over to livetiming.nickteason.nl. You can also view our onboard feed if you head over to the second channel here on RaceSpot TV. Now, of course, Rachel, ESPN did a mega cast for the college football, what was it called? The college football playoff final, which means I have to play this. But we're doing our own thing here today, and it's just as good, at least. Less football.
Oh, certainly. Definitely much better being RaceSpot TV. We are the #1 in sim racing.
As you can see, Estefano continuing his battle then. Now, whilst this is going on, they are losing time a little bit there to Liam Quinn. Not by much, not a noticeable amount, but they do continue to battle. And here you can see the gap is about 7 tenths per second between these two, as they will still battle for P14, P15. Every point in a series like this, Johnny, counts.
Yeah, and Liam Quinn is 18 seconds behind. He's not going to catch up to him unless they have a huge incident or they battle pretty much side by side every single corner. For the championship, though, for Stopper Racing Team and STF, decent points. I think top 10 get points if I'm not mistaken. Oh, actually, yes, I am not mistaken there. And teams who are currently leading the championship, we'll wrap that up shortly. JPS Racing, currently in second, are leading championship. Good race from them.
As we can see there, Dennis Garrison and the Team Digital Racing car making a move past Ryan Walker in a battle for the 8th, 9th and 10th positions. This one has really hotted up recently. So you can see the driver scored in the 10th spot. That is Ronaldo Silva in the SRB car right now. As Ronaldo Silva looking around the outside as they come down into Rivage, out of Rivage, and Rachel. Good little scrap going on here between 3 drivers, each hoping to get themselves a top 10 finish overall.
Yeah, this is the exciting part of endurance racing, Will. They race so clean and nose to tail for most of the entire time, and then it's time to go to war. These guys are doing just that, and it's awesome.
So here you can see a look then from the rear of Dennis Garrison's car as they continue their journey around the racetrack here. And Garrison still running in that 8th position. He was helped actually a little bit by lapped traffic that time by. They will say we're still running themselves in their 8th spot. Walker still running in 9th and Silva running in that 10th position. We ride along board then with Ronaldo Silva in that 10th position. They work themselves out of Stavolo back down towards the bus stop chicane once again. And here you can see Silva getting very wide on the exit of the corner, having to push a little bit further wide than he would want to as they work themselves down into that bus stop chicane once again. But these 2 drivers have been battling pretty much all race long. Here you can see Ryan Walker, they come out the corner. We have a look from the rear of him, and the gap between these 2 drivers is literally a quarter of a second on the racetrack. So then, battle for P9 and P10. Here are the top 10. We'll show that on the left-hand side of your screen. Armensberger is still your leader with a 22.6 second advantage over Jan Cornelius. Joe Jr. has dropped back into 3rd place. We talked about him a little bit earlier on. He has maintained that gap though. It's about 10 seconds between himself and David Baraclow. Sven Palmquist in the 5th position. Mayer in the 6th spot. Offerman in 7th. David Garrison in 9th. In 8th, Ryan Walker in 10th, and Silva is going to try and make them move as they work themselves down into Lacombe. However, it's not going to be, yes, it is going to be close enough as here comes Silva down to the inside as they work themselves down into Lacombe, and he makes that pass, scored complete as they come out of the corner. We'll have a look there. You can see one driver behind him is the lap traffic, but Ryan Walker losing a position there, Rachel, and this has been a great scrap all race long.
Yeah, those guys have been at it pretty much tooth and nail for most of this race, so it's good to see that pass changing hands. I won't be surprised if they don't come back at themselves again in the closing finish of this race because it is that close.
Ryan Walker then still safe, still battling, still moving, still trying to get himself up through the field. And this battle, it has been going on for a while now, as it's actually allowed Garrison ahead of him to just pull out now a 2.3 second advantage. We have a look there, you can see they are well back on the field as they continue their battle, still trying to move along on the racetrack. As we're actually going to have a look now on board with the second part of this lap with the driver who is scored in the 10th position. There you can see he's Ryan Walker. We're going to ride along board with him.
Yep, and that's exactly what Ronaldo Silva has done. He's had some great undercuts as well, breaking late, gone from 25th to 9th. Absolute big battle, and now he's only 2 seconds behind P8. That's Dennis Garrison, you just said, who's in the top 10. They started 18th into 8th, as well as we're not going to forget Sim Racing for Holland. They were on a charge towards the podium, but still, I mean, 13th to 7th now at the moment. They still had a terrific race. It seems like they're going to finish 7th with 15 minutes or 16 minutes remaining instead. So hopefully no commentator curse again, because we thought they were going to finish in the top 3.
Yeah, of course, Absolute Beginners pretty familiar with this track. Well, they were in the 24 Hours of Spa, so their team is quite prepared for this one. And they're giving Hellenic Racing Team a really good showing at the moment. They have a good potential to maybe get something in the last minutes of this race.
Well, I just don't see the logic to that strategy, really. 2 stops was the way to go, and now they're just going to fall further and further back. And, well, I think that's lesson learnt. I mean, if they have to perform well next time around, especially with, with strategy, because to give up a top 10 position like that, simply just by pit stops, is not ideal.
They will indeed, and it's definitely something that these teams are all going to learn, because this team strategy format is new to us here. It's only been around for the last 2 months in the iRacing.com service, so these teams are in their infancy. Are they going to learn? They're going to work on these strategies, and they're going to find what works and what doesn't. They're going to have bad races. This might be a bad race for some guys, but they will benefit from that, so hopefully things will only improve with time.
Oh, and that was lucky that he didn't hit anything there, so he's just going to continue. Hopefully no damage. He did jump over the curb there at Les Cormes and some grass. Hopefully no damage, 13 minutes remaining, but certainly lost plenty of time. He's going to have to try and keep that P4 away from the Falcon GP car of Sven Anders Blomqvist. Just as we said, and now he's going to have to try. This is a really difficult job for him now. He's only 1 or 2 seconds in front now, instead of the gap was about 15 before that. He has to maintain, he has to keep his cool now and do his best job of getting the tyres back to optimum temperature, because they're overheating like hell at the moment, it has to be said. So it's going to be an intense final 10 minutes for him. And oh, does he get a cut penalty? No, he doesn't. Oh, this is going to be very, very close. Sven Anders Palmqvist has the advantage at this moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do apologise for some of the audio issues there that have been occurring. We promise that we are now back. As we say, 11 minutes to go. Battle between Baraclough and Sven Anders Palmqvist. And for Baraclough, he had 2 incidents in the space of 1 lap. And that could very well mean that after trying to get himself onto the podium, he now has to battle tooth and nail with Sven Anders Palmqvist, who ought to be P number 5 on the racetrack in momentum, Rachel.
Absolutely, and he's been experiencing momentum of a different kind, the wrong momentum off the track. But no, it's when you get flustered, and that first incident is a key example of that. As I mentioned at the start of the broadcast, it's very easy to fluster yourself more. It's easy to make mistakes because you're changing what you're doing, because you're worried that perhaps your tyres are overheating. You start driving the corners differently, and that only adds to the problem. So these guys can be their own worst enemies at times.
Well, there you can see 1.2 seconds is the gap. Anders Palmqvist can smell the potential for him to move up a position. And if you're the driver behind, of course, now you can actually smell something. You can just feel the car in front of you having some issues. All of a sudden, Johnny, you just push that little bit harder, that extra 2% that you always have reserved in the tank. Well, you're using it now. You'll be trying to hit every apex perfectly, as that gap is going to come down now to just under 1 second. It's exactly 1 second. It's under 1 second as they work themselves down into the bus stop. This is where the issue was, of course, last time for Baraclough. Will he make the second mistake in a row? No, he doesn't. But he's 2/10 of a second slower in that one corner than Sven Anders Palmqvist.
Yeah, I'm afraid now Anders Palmqvist in that BMW has probably got the advantage at the moment. This pass is going to be inevitable. He can brake later. He's just got so much more confidence. Tyres are a lot better, and I think that pass for P4 might be completed anytime shortly in the next 9 minutes. Look at the gap now. He's within touching distance. If he just puts his arm out the window, I think he might be able to grab onto the back of that roof car.
Go, Inspector Gadget Arms. If you're Sven Anders Palmqvist, gap down now to 1/3 of a second. Gained that last time by. Let's not forget Baraclough had a full lap that last time by. 1 second faster. Those tyres will be hurting for Sven Anders Palmqvist. He's just got to pick his time, use that momentum to his advantage. If he gets it wrong the first time, that momentum will go back to David Baraclough. Give you an update on the race lead. It's 32 seconds now between Armensberger and Jean-Paul Nulius in that battle for the race lead. A German at Van der Door, I think, might have just had himself a bit of an issue. We'll just check in on him very quickly. Oh, look at this, a big battle going on actually. As a Van der Door, I think he might have had himself a moment there. So just going to have a look at that one back very quickly. But as it goes with David Baraclough and Sven Anders Palmqvist, we'll let you know if anything happens between these two drivers. As German at Van der Door, it does think he was a little bit slow a couple of corners to go. We've got a crash rate on. That is Baraclough. Baraclough has had a huge moment, so we'll turn our attention to that one immediately there. And let's have a look. David Baraclough, he has a moment. This is down into Pool. Those tyres, of course, overheated, under pressure, coming through, and a big wiggle there. Tries to correct it, slams it hard into the Armco barriers. David Baraclough is going to be well down this field. The question will now be, Johnny, can he hold on and try and bring that car home?
No, lots of rear wing damage, and look, he's too slow. Where is he going to finish? Is he going to score points even? I mean, oh, this is just gone from bad to worse for him. As we talked about, tyres overheating, and a corner like Bourne, you know that that's probably the corner you have to be most careful at this track with overheating tyres. Probably other than Rattle on the exit of Eau Rouge Rattle Complex. Look how slow the car is though through Blanchimont. That's not going to finish in the points. I can tell you that now with 7 minutes remaining.
Yeah, we'll get the super slow-mo replay up. You can see he tried to turn the car oversteer, tries to correct it. That car just loops on him, and at that point, it is going to be sliding all the way. And that's actually the one thing, Rachel, that you don't want to do on this concrete sort of area, because there's nothing to slow you down.
No, there isn't, apart from that great big tyre barrier, which he slapped rather hard.
We've got another incident. Sorry, the Sim Racing for Holland car has had a crash as well, so they're dropping like flies here in the roofs on this final moment. That time by is over. That green, great, as you can see, Marcel Offerman's a wicked crash for him. Looks like his engine's destroyed as well. So in the space of a lap, we've had ourselves two drivers having massive mistakes who are having themselves great battles. That Sim Racing for Holland car, Rudy DeWitt earlier, was doing a tremendous job. Now we'll slow this one down. Is it the white line he catches? We have a look. Catches the edge of the curb, Rachel. Just the edge of the curb, and you can see he's doing everything he can to slow that car down. Doesn't lose any speed at all. Well, such a shame for him.
Yeah, he just clipped that the wrong way and round he went. Both these guys on old tyres we've seen now having big accidents because the car's just whipping round on them.
One more look then for Marcel Offerman as he works himself through the corner one more time. And here you can see down, he touched the inside curb first. That was the issue, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's probably due to a concentration problem, most likely, because, I mean, with 6 rounds remaining, he was probably content with the finish, but to hit an inside curve, miss the apex on the inside, I've done that many times before. A lot of people do it, whether it's practicing, race, qualifying. It's just due to a lack of concentration, really, and unfortunately, they were having such a great race. Outside of the top 10 was their starting position. Now they're back out on track after a pit stop, and, not the end that they wanted, certainly.
Well, yeah, it was the touching of that inside curb, but hopefully we would have got that on your screen for you, ladies and gentlemen. But, yeah, that's caused two of these big roofs to have incident. Anders Carmquist is now up into the 3rd position. And look at this driver, SRB Racing's Artian Mayer, from nowhere into the top 5, Rachel.
Yes, they have, taking benefit from these late race incidents, putting the SRB race car, the number 8 of Artian Mayer, into a position he probably didn't expect to be in, but hey, this is how the chips fall in racing.
Right, on board then, and here is a look then on our graphics. He's actually down 1 spot from where he started, but made up most of the damage that was caused to them in the early going. Of course, they had himself a couple of key incidents at the start of this race, which cost them track position, but now they are back in control of their destiny into the 5th place here. So it's all gone off in the last couple of moments, but this driver still leading the way, and he has led all but 5 laps in today's event here. We're working ourselves on lap number 73. This driver has led 68 of them, about to lead his 69th lap, Johnny.
It's just been a pretty straightforward race for them. 3rd in the championship is probably going to lift them, it might lift them ahead of Falcon GP. We'll get that calculated after the race, once everyone has finished the race, because we talked about drivers finishing and they've all crashed with a race that's probably 5 minutes too long for some of them, even though it was a 3-hour endurance event. Very good race.
Nick Thiesen's comments.
Yeah, well, he's providing some good commentary for me. No, I won't steal it anymore. But yeah, he's typical race, Almondsberger as well. And Pure Racing Team going to be really proud that they're going to win this race by about 35 seconds. We thought it was going to be a big battle between them and the number 69 of JPS, but just gradually 10th by 10th and lap by lap, they've just extended and extruded the lead.
Well, Rachel, let's compare PRT here to compare to what they did in the STC. They're doing dramatically better. These long race distances do seem to be helping them quite a lot.
Yeah, well, we saw in the STC Black Cup that PRT were one of the teams that definitely were stronger in their hour-and-a-half, 90-minute races, rather than the 1-hour sprint races, 45 minutes, sorry. They're clearly a team that work better over the distance, and they have that strategy right. Here, of course, we saw them dominating victory. Not what we have seen from them in the past, but definitely what I think they could do. And obviously, if they get the chance to move towards perhaps the Neo series, running longer races, they could even be a real force.
David Barraclough is almost playing the role there of Ricciardo Taulo as he worked himself through Blanchimont. That car is damaged. He's got himself 2 laps of this race to go. He's all over the place. Now, if you're race control, here's an issue here, Johnny, because you have 3 laps to serve a penalty. So if they give him a penalty, it's not going to make any difference. This has got to be a gentleman's thing here. That he's got to be careful. because if he does harm someone else's race, this, I think, would have to be something carried over to the next race. That car is not handling well, and he's got himself a car. He's 8 seconds back on the racetrack. His last lap was 4 minutes 33. Of course, he had a pit stop in there as well. Tried to get some repairs done, couldn't get many. He brought his car back out onto the racetrack. He's losing time every single moment. Down this straightaway, he's 50 kilometers an hour slower than what he should be doing.
No, that's way too dangerous. So another Riku Alatello situation from last week. He should be black flagged shortly. He hasn't been by the stewards unless they have done it privately to him to not distract the others as they're losing concentration with 1 minute and 20 seconds left in the race. But that car is certainly not fit to be driving around the track. For some reason now it seems to be slightly better through the corners, but on the straights, as you say, 50 kilometers down is completely and utterly dangerous for those coming up towards to lap him.
Yeah, and we're just seeing in the background, in just 1 moment's time, we'll see Kevin Kreinen. In fact, Kreinen will stay on board from this rear shot angle. We've got 1 minute of this race to go. The white flag will come out whatever lap Ullmannsberger is on. Look at how quickly he will catch him through Pure, because right out of the gas he will come. Barrichello trying to not make the same mistake he did before in the second part of it. In this one corner alone, Barrichello has lost 1 second to the car behind, which is Kevin Braken in the Mad Cape Racing number 74 team. Now, these drivers aren't running for points. That's the important thing now on this stage of the race. They're running basically for pride. And of course, you want to bring your car home, but you've got to be careful. Talkfit Racing, you don't want your race to end on a sour note, because it very well could bring itself into the next race as well. And in fact, Braken is going to catch him down at Blanchimont. So if you're the Mad Cape Racing team, what you need to do here is just be careful. Be very careful. Make the move in as safe a spot as possible. Not here, not at Blanchimont, because you can see the TFR car getting well out of the way, but so easy for it all to go wrong here. By the way, Andreas Ullmannsberger has seen the white flag this time by. So you can see he's got traffic ahead of him. We work on board of the PRT car. He works himself now down towards the last couple of corners. We'll get confirmation, see if that white flag is out, because it's Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. And we always know what will happen when this track brings the white flag out. We've had it twice happen to me. I'm going to go ahead and call the end of the race anyway, because what would happen if it's wrong? I only have to do it again. Andreas Ullmannsberger, ladies and gentlemen, working himself down in towards what will be the final corner for the final time here. And it will be Andreas Ullmannsberger. He will claim victory here at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. A dominant performance there by the Pure Racing Team car. Andreas Ullmannsberger going to iRacing, gathering our tweakers victory lane in that Pure Racing Team car. What a drive by him. We now await the driver of Jan Punilius, who will come home in second place for JPS Racing, working himself out of Blanchimont for the final time. As just to give you an update, Joe Jr. in third, Sven Anders Palmqvist in fourth, Ayrton Mayer rounding out your top 5. It looks like all of these drivers have not got any battles. They just got to bring their car home. This is what Jan Punilius does. Second place will be for him. Deserved drive there for the JPS Racing car. Now Joe Jr. will bring his Radicals Online car home in a podium position. Our highest place roof today for Joe Jr. That roof is indeed on fire for him, as he's able to get himself up from 6th place on the grid into a podium spot. What a drive by your entire podium, but what a drive by that PRT car claiming victory here today, Johnny.
Yeah, they're on 106 points now, barring any penalties for the future, and they're going to be in second place in the championship behind JPS, who will be on 117. So those teams in a tight fight with 2 rounds remaining. What a terrific race as well. It was unfortunate to see some teams who had such a great event to pull out or at least make mistakes in those final stages. What a terrific end. What has been a lovely, delightful 3 hours of Spa.
Sven Anders Palmqvist, P4 for him when all is said and done here. And then Antien Mayer will come home in the 5th place. So you can see him just coming into our camera shot now to round out your top 5. Then in the 6th place, you can see Dennis Garrison in the Team Digital Racing car, working himself now down towards the start-finish line, as he will complete 6th place for that team who started today's event in the 18th spot. Up to 6th. What a drive by them. as Ronaldo Silva will bring the second SRB team car home in the 7th place. The last driver we think to be scored on the lead lap. We'll just check in on German Fandor. Silva comes home in P7, and German Fandor, there you can see him working himself in the back end of the racetrack. So, ladies and gentlemen, they are your result, and let's run through them officially for you. It is Andreas Almensberger claiming victory here in an incredible race, 37 seconds when all was said and done, over Jan Punilius, Joe Jr. in 3rd, then Anders Palmqvist in the 4th position, Antrin Meyer in 5th, SRB Racing, Team Digital Racing in 6th position, Ronaldo Silva rounding out your field on the lead lap. Jonah Fandor in 8th. Bezkan Ozkan in 9th place for Team Turkey Motorsport. Ashley Owen running out your top 10. Then we've got Ika Estefania in 11th, Ryan Walker 12th, Darren Grix in 13th, Charlius Christinopoulos in the 14th position, Marcel Offmans in 15th, Andre Martin 16th, Ian Quinn 17th, Jacob Fife in 18th, and Christia Di Ruda in the 19th position, and Kevin Braken rounding out your top 20. There you can see David Barclough after his issues coming home P21. Nico Van Elk in 22nd, Marcus Lambert 23rd, and the rest of your top 30 up on your screens. Ready to boot now. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step aside for just one moment. We'll be right back after these messages. You are watching RaceSpotTV, home of the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We'll be back in a moment.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Gathering of Tweakers Endurance Series here on RaceSpotTV. Got ourselves a couple of post-race interviews. We're going to start with the team who came home in the third position here today. That is Joe Jr. The Radical Steel Series organisation. Well, Joe, overall, it's been a good little day for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, I can't complain actually. We qualified, what was it, 6? Managed to work our way up to 4th, and then a bit of bad luck from someone in front, and that gifted us 3rd position. We basically had incident-free race in one sense. It was pretty boring in one sense, but was a solid race.
Well, of course, you'd always want the races to be uneventful but positive. That's what you've had here today, but I mean, that little Roof 99 car had itself some good pace, and you happy about the way that you guys performed here today? Now we're over halfway into the championship.
Yeah, of course, definitely. I missed MOE last week, but I managed to come back for this race, and Yuri did a great job with the incidents in the second stint, making up for my huge downfall. But yeah, it was a good race. Good one to Yuri as well, my teammate.
Of course, you did get yourself a warning at one part of the race with the off tracks. Now, how difficult is it? And, you know, especially as the fatigue kicks in, to not try and push wide down Pure, also down at Blanchimont. How hard is it?
In the first stint, I was really struggling with the front tires, losing grip, so I was getting a lot of understeer. But in the second stint, I don't know, I was in a different headspace, and I was able to do a lot better in the second stint. So it was difficult though in the first one.
Joe Jr. coming home in the third place. By the way, Joe, an apology from us here on RaceSpotTV. We have you down as a British driver, which we know is not true. Please accept our apologies.
Apologies accepted. Thanks, guys.
Well, we've also had the opportunity to very quickly chat to the team who came home down in the pack just a little bit, but they had themselves an interesting race as well. Kino Bushnam for the Stoppo Racing team. How's your day been here today?
The race was very good. Our qualifying was a bit disappointing because our time in the practice was a bit better than the quali time, but in the race my stint was a little bit boring, but Jen has made a very good job and bring the car home on P13 in the end, I think.
Yeah, and there you can see just coming into our view right now on our wonderful, beautiful super slow-mo replays. But it's been a good race for you guys overall, things considered. You started in 20th position, up into 13th at the end. Methodical, but some very close racing at some points as well. How close was it to you guys bidding that race car at one point?
Yeah, Jen was a bit cool at this moment and just say calm down a bit when I was a little bit off. Oh my god! And yeah, but he was in the car, did a great job, and I think the P13 is very good for us and over our target.
Halfway through the series, heading over to the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace next month for round number 4 of the championship. What's your thoughts what's going to be from the longest track of the series to the shortest track?
Yeah, I had an official race there 2 weeks ago, I think, and I really like this track, but it's also very difficult with incidents, and you must drive very clean there, and we will see. We will give our best, and yeah.
Thanks very much for talking to us. Jan Durex coming home in the 13th place here today. Finally, have a quick chat with Ryan Walker coming home in the Mad Cape Racing number 73 car. And Ryan, well, your race has been, again, eventful. Take us through what was kind of going on that strategy.
Thanks of all, good job in the broadcast, guys. The strategy, yeah, that was a kind of a last second thing, because when I jumped in for my stunt, the plan was for Troy to do the start of the race and then hand over to me for my middle stunt and then hand back to him for the end of the race. But we changed it during the race and decided that Troy would do a double stunt and I would do a double stunt and take it to the finish. And when it came to the last stop, we were kind of discussing what we should do at the final stop. Should we change tyres or just take fuel? And just take fuel, yeah. But for some reason Troy made a mistake with when it came to the pit stop and selected new tyres when we weren't going to change them, but in the end it worked out with the new tyres because we could push and catch the people in front of us, and we managed to finish in 12th place in the end and score points, I think.
Well, compared to everyone else, almost, you guys ran on a 3-stop strategy compared to everyone else's 2. Do you think that was one that worked for you in hindsight if you were to do it again? Tyres excluded?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I think a 3-stop strategy could work, but you'd maybe need to be up at the front of the pack. But if you're down towards maybe the midfield or the back of the pack, I don't think it would work. I think a 2-stop strategy would be the only way to go.
Well, Ryan, thank you very much for talking to us, coming home in the 12th place here today. Just about got the opportunity to have a chat with Brett Gutschel. Were you in that race? I think so. But yes, first of all, before we go any further, it's been an incredible race here today, Johnny. These guys have had themselves one heck of an event.
It's been an absolutely delightful event to watch. My first actual GES event, GOT event. And I got mixed up with NES, which is tomorrow. But I mean, this support series certainly lives up to expectations. We're expecting more over the next 2 rounds, sure. Hopefully at Interlagos and then at the final round.
Yeah, and Interlagos, of course, is a very different animal compared to this track. You know, it's narrow, it's twisty, it's turning, good overtaking opportunities, but you have got to be careful overall.
Yeah, what I really like about the track is the fact that it is short and it is anti-clockwise as well. So, I mean, you don't really think about that as you're driving it, whether it's clockwise or anti-clockwise, but it brings a different element to it. It's tight, it's small, but there's still plenty of great racing. It's a track similar to Spa. There's grass on either side of you, and a little mistake onto the grass can cost you a lot of time.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, that is all we have time for here today. If you are awaiting the Skip Barber 2K Cup, that'll be here in 5 minutes here on RaceSpotTV. In the interim, this has been a RaceSpotTV presentation of the Gathering of Tweakers series. For myself, Will Vincent, Rachel Whiteford, and Johnny Simon. We'll talk to you all next time. Bye-bye.